Yeah, 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 yeah. Hey.
How much time do you got to make the final six?
Tone, boy. Yeah, hurt, boy.
Some drivers don't need that much time to get hot. Connor Trafari takes the win.
I'm about to hit you with the work, boy. I'm about to hit you with the work, boy.
For some, the time slips away from previous success.
Worse.
And for several, they'll take as much time as they can get as it ticks away through a long, winding season. And as drivers figure out who they become, AJ Hyder grabs a huge victory from Iowa. Time will tell them who they are.
Yeah, I know you heard things. I'm not new to this. Coming from the 6 side, I'm not new to this.
The time is ticking. The semifinal starts right now.
So I don't give a about what anybody's saying right now.
The chance for a championship and the journey arrives just an hour south of Chicago proper, where it's a return to a worn-out mile and a half in the semi-final for a long-winded season. We're live from the virtual Chicagoland Speedway. The KBueno Racing Network is pleased to welcome you to coverage of the 17th race in the Season 4 SAAC Cup Series and our trip to the virtual Chicagoland Speedway. Glad that you're with us on the KBueno Racing Network as we decide the 6 drivers that move on to the championship finale at Auto Club Speedway 1 week from tonight. We're alongside Nate Polite in the broadcast booth here from Joliet, Illinois. I am Kenneth Bueno. And Nate, this is a very important race, perhaps the most important race for some of the top 9 drivers in the standings. Not only do we have a cutthroat fight for the championship at the top end of the spectrum, it is getting tight around that cut line. This is that final race for those 9 drivers to make them 6 into that finale next week, and this is probably one of the best places to do it.
That's one of the unique aspects of this Eliminator chase format. Not only do you have the championship battle at the top, you have everyone else that's not in that title fight directly fighting to get into it and fighting to stay above the cut line. And it's a battle on the cut line. We saw it take place last week at Bristol with 2 guys on the cut line finishing in the top 3. We could be in for more of that tonight.
It will be a scintillating showdown here from Chicagoland Speedway, a track that has not seen NASCAR Cup Series action since 2019. It has been quite a while since the Cup Series has been here. This Joliet, Illinois track has taken a part in a lot of historic races, from the IndyCar Series to, of course, NASCAR Cup Series, Xfinity Series, and so on throughout the course of its near 24-year history. Here in the SAAC Cup Series, it's been back and forth. First appearance here back in Season 0, a return to this speedway back in Season 2, but we haven't seen this track in action in over a year and a half. The last time we were there, it was Jordan Kuntz who ended up taking the victory that time in April of 2024. It's been quite a while since we've seen this track on the schedule, but we joined this race with a very interesting storyline that we have to piggyback off from the last race of the season, Bristol Motor Speedway, the one that we had last Thursday night. It was a crazy start. Justin Rott with a pole on the front row. He would get the lead taken away almost instantaneously by Justin Rott, or by James Bomar rather, on the outside of row number 1. But Nate, we would see so much chaos, typical of Bristol racing, of course, but chaotic to those leading the championship. Ethan Fonseca Moreno and Gabriel Dehari found big time trouble. There's Moreno trying to scatter his way through the field, something that those 2 drivers had become familiar with all night long as Bomar continued to lead. It was really tough for them that night.
Yeah, that's the nature of Bristol. Not only is it tough for you yourself, but it's a self-cleaning racetrack. We saw several instances where one guy gets sideways right there. That's Austin Duran spinning in front of Steven Maggio, and it just blocks up the entire track. Title contenders, wasn't always their fault, but they got in it anyway.
And there's Steven Maggio also being a part of several incidents. It's been somewhat of a tough season, especially in the Eliminator chase. He's been able to piggyback off of some good finishes. Bristol was one of them. There's James Thurston. Huge moment in the lead near the outside wall. We would see a lot of the cold tire decisions be made, drivers staying out and then ultimately getting sideways. There's Maggio being involved in another incident, taking out Moreno just about. Here's the 92 try to get around it. Nobody was really safe for Bristol, but one driver who was really standing out amongst the crowd, Amir Bascombe. There was a lot of life underneath that 21 machine. He would take the lead, and then after the longest green flag run of the night, then came a pivotal caution. Fidel Fabian going sideways on the straightaway. That would lead to a yellow, bringing us this run and these two passes inside the final 25 laps of the race. That was for second against Cody Riveras, and then swooping from the top shelf, Amir Bascombe taking the lead from Connor Trafari, who basically certainly had an opportunity to steal the points lead. He's got it coming into tonight's race from Chicagoland Speedway, and it was Amir Bascombe and Amir Bascombe only. First career SAAC Cup Series win coming from the Last Great Coliseum, and in fact his first iRacing League victory coming here at Bristol in this series. So quite awesome to see Amir Bascombe at the top end of the podium after a crazy race like that. So that jumps us into tonight's race from Joliet, Illinois, and things are still considerably close after Jonathan Juergensmeyer and Cody Riveras picked up podiums at Bristol last week. They are still in play for the top 6 cut line. Again, it's the 2 best races over the course of this Eliminator chase. You get double points for those. Your worst race counts as only 25% than it would if it were literally any other race. And it's close. I mean, there's still mathematical chances for drivers like Michael Walls and Andretti Robinson, Nate, but it's still very close. No one is quite safe yet.
Yeah, no one's completely safe. AJ Hyder, Steven Maggio, and the rest of the gang above them. It's really just keep the car clean, don't wreck it, don't end up, going down 10, 15 laps in this race. Then you could find yourself in trouble. But as long as they're able to hang around the top 15, top 20, should be okay. Jonathan Juergensmeyer and Cody Riveras, that's most likely going to be the battle on this cut line. But Michael Walls and Andretti Robinson, don't count them out, especially if they can find victory lane. Michael Walls, he's got 3 straight top 10s right now. He wants to try to parlay that momentum into a phenomenal run here at Chicagoland. Any of these guys can make that jump in.
Yeah, those back-to-back top 10s at both New Hampshire and at Road America was what catapulted Michael Walls into the top 9 in the first place. He escaped a first-time elimination from the top 12. He stayed in the top 9. He still has a shot. So does Robinson, Riveras, and a lot of the others could also get bounced out for those drivers fighting for a championship here in Season 4 of the SAAC Cup Series. And just a refresher as to how this Eliminator Chase format works, we've simplified it for you just a bit. It is kind of a long process to go through, but we started over at Bristol. We had those 12 drivers. We brought it down to 9. Coming into Chicagoland, again, it's double points for your best race and then best 2 races from Chicagoland, so that does count Bristol as well. Your worst race count is only 25% of the total points that you could be given. And then when the 6 drivers make it to Auto Club next Thursday, it is triple points for the crown at the end of that race from Southern California. So that's when everything will be left for dust in terms of actual points conversations. It's going to be going all out for the win most likely. Triple points will be awarded though, so if there are some finishes outside of the top 3, if there's no winner amongst those top 6, then it can make things very interesting as to who could catapult ahead of the other by the time things really get down to the stretch. And when we come down to Auto Club, it is really going to be competitive. We've seen the 12 drivers make the Eliminator chase, at least as far as Bristol Motor Speedway. They were competitive. Tonight it is uber competitive between the top 9 as the 6 try to make their way through. Well, we've covered a lot in the SAAC Cup Series, and the names across this calendar, whether it be guys like Ethan Fonseca Moreno, a star-studded name in the 4-wide racing TJ's Team Series, someone like Jonathan Juergensmeyer and Steven Maggio, 2 standout names from a fellow Slide Job Racing League, lots of other competitions across the iRacing sphere, and that does also include eNASCAR College iRacing Series action. And just last night, AJ Hyder and Connor Trafari got to represent their schools and also represent a bit of the SAAC Cup Series as they took part in the Clash on the Beach from the World Center of Racing. Nate, kind of how cool is this? Not only that they had the chance to gain some glory in series like the SAAC Cup Series, but they're also trying to get some scholarship money. There's a look on board with Connor Trafari running for the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and AJ Hyder doing best representing his school as well. Really cool to see them take the track last night trying to go for the scholarship prize.
cool to see NASCAR and iRacing partner with collegiate esports teams. Collegiate esports, of course, does not get similar coverage to the major college sports like, of course, football and basketball and baseball. So it's just super cool to see a little bit extra coverage for the esports arms of these universities.
It's really cool. Lots of other SAAC Cup Series drivers that have been part of the NASCAR College iRacing Series. We mentioned UNC Charlotte and the 49ers. Not only is Trafari a part of that group, but so is fellow series driver Rivers Jones. So chance for you to see a lot of those drivers fighting for the scholarship money. Trafari ended up advancing into the Clash on the Beach showdown that'll happen in a couple of weeks' time. So pretty cool to see them there. Well, the drivers are right behind the iRacing official pace car, so let's take you trackside and bring you tonight's starting grid for the 17th race of the Season 4 SAAC Cup Series and this semifinal event as those 6 drivers try to vie for a title next week at Auto Club Speedway. And it is a crucial pole position for the San Jose, Californian Ethan Fonseca Moreno trying to regain the points lead after a struggle-filled night at Bristol last week. He sets it on pole with a 29.656, and fellow playoff and eliminator chase driver Connor Trafari on the outside in row number 1 should be a very good look to the green flag. Then another pair of drivers adorning the pink and purple in the eliminator chase. Jonathan Jurgensmeyer, fresh off of the podium from the last great Coliseum. He is 14 above the cut line, trying to stay in for the next round. And AJ Hyder, 4th in points entering tonight. He's been good at these mile-and-a-halfs before. Can he capture a 3rd race victory of 2025? James Pomar led from the stop in the Bristol race last week from the outside of the front row. He did well. He starts 5th. Justin Roth, the pole sitter of that race, who gave up the lead on lap number 1. He'll be on the outside to try and regain the crown from P6. Brad Sawinski rolls off his number 28 machine from 7th. And Dreddy Robinson, one of the deeper starts for our eliminator chase drivers. He's back in 8th. And the final 2 in our top 10, Connor Zola and Donovan David.
Then on to row 6, Cody Riveras, playoff driver. He sits just behind the cut line minus 14. He's alongside last week's winner Amir Bascombe. Then it's Gabriel Dahari, another playoff driver alongside Alexander Schumacher. Then it's Devin Frank and Nicholas Borowski in row 8. Row 9, James Thurston. He's captured 3 wins this year. He starts deep in the field alongside Fidel Fabian. And then rounding out the top 20 is Christopher Robinson and the Season 0 winner here at Chicagoland, Ollie Reeves.
Trying to go back to victory lane after Jordan Kuntz did it 2 seasons after. Larry Miles, 21st. Chris Lilly in 23rd, rejoining the series, or 22nd, rather. Shockey Tarpley, 23rd. Gabe Cazzola back in 24th place. And the deepest start for eliminator chase driver tonight, Michael Walls, starting this one from 25th place. Got a lot of work to do. Wyatt Roberts in 26th. Ryan Jones and Chris Downey will bring in top 28. Stephen Maggio way back in 29th, so he's the deepest start. And Declan George in the 17 rounds out our 30 car field, 29 that have made it to the speedway to take this green flag. 134 laps, just over 200 miles from Joliet, Illinois, and in a return to Chicagoland in over a year and a half, Moreno and Trafari lead us to eliminator chase racing from Chicagoland. And how about that? 3 wide for the lead down the back straightaway. Jonathan Jurgensmeyer takes 2 and takes the top spot to lead lap 1.
Start sliding out of turn number 4. Wow, what a save.
That's James Bomar in trouble. The Little Caesars Toyota Camry keeps it alive. On the inside of turn 4, we stay green. And Nate, what a move by Jurgensmeyer. Bottom shelf took the call down the back straightaway. Jurgensmeyer, the race leader, and the second straight week in which the pole sitter does not lead the opening lap.
And we talked about Jonathan Jurgensmeyer finishing on the podium last week at Bristol. He looked forward. He saw the championship was at Auto Club where he won in 4 wide. He says, hey, I want to have a piece of that. He's taken matters into his own hands, going 3 wide on lap 1, and the yellow flag flies on the speedway.
Trouble. Justin Robb, pole sitter from last week, involved. And our first yellow flies after 3 green flag laps. The Carolina Panthers Chevrolet stranded on the exit of the turn 4 area. That's the beginning of the tri-oval. And the driver who led a couple of laps at Bristol did really well for himself at the last great Coliseum last week. Could have put in position for his first career SAAC Cup Series victory of this season. He ends up in trouble, and a lot of other drivers seem to have tried to find their way around it. They'd slowed down. And our yellow flag will raise for the first time tonight from Joliet, Illinois. So as quickly as we got the satisfaction for Jonathan Juergensmeyer taking the lead, it's already some negative situations for Justin Rott. And this was basically the same situation that James Bomar had faced Nate off of turn 4. Car just slipped out from underneath him, tried to keep the car straight in this case, and just about lost it. Great job from the field to get away from him, though.
Yeah, super fortunate that nobody ran into him, and it's tough when that back end steps out on you to get it just going back in the right direction. Here's the onboard. You see there, the back end's already sideways and just snaps back to the right. It's not the first time that he's found himself sideways in turn 4 this week. Take you back to Monday night. He and, coincidentally enough, Jonathan Juergensmeyer had a run-in at the end of the KBRN Truck Series race from Auto Club Speedway. That was the playoff cutoff race for that one as well.
Yeah, that was a very contentious fight for the race victory. Juergensmeyer getting into Justin Rott at the end, and it was just a crazy run to the start-finish line. And thankfully for the drivers here, no real damage, and still a long way to go here from Chicagoland. So for Juergensmeyer, he'll be leading in clean air. And how important is that? A pass for the lead that early on, you would say, oh, maybe he was just a bit aggressive going for the lead. And aggressive it was, although it was clean in that 3 abreast pass down this curved back straightaway. But it is for a reason. These next-gen cars do not like wakes of cars behind them, and you can get a ton of that, especially here on these mile-and-a-halfs, and one that is abrasive like Chicagoland, in which could get very tough to pass down the bottom when the run starts to pick in. So very good decision by Juergensmeyer getting out into clean air early. Now he'll have control for when we get this next restart.
Yeah, the dirty air, it feels like a dead horse the way they talk about it in the real world, and it's just as bad, if not worse, on iRacing. It's so tough to pass a guy for the lead at one of these fast, high-speed racetracks. You take you back in time again to the opening race of this Eliminator chase, Darlington. James Thurston was able to hold off a hard-charging Austin Duran by just throwing the wake all over the front of the 52 car, helped him win that race. And this is a track, it's definitely faster than Darlington, and that means that the dirty air is going to have all that much more effect.
And Juergensmeyer, of course, trying to keep himself alive in this Eliminator chase. We mentioned before in our pre-race show, 14 points that separate him and the league owner, Cody Riveras. They came away with some good points last week at Bristol. Riveras ending up runner-up, Jonathan Juergensmeyer ending up 3rd, which is a feat that he had only achieved 2 other times this season, and it was both at mile-and-a-halfs, Texas Motor Speedway and Homestead, Miami, 2 places in which this driver here from Beckmeyer, Illinois, was able to capture a top 3 effort, finish exactly in 3rd, and has captured some top 10s along the way. 4th place at Road America, then, of course, another top 3 at Bristol. So starting to rebuild that streak after what was a really rough outing at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Ended up 16th after that affair, but he will have control of the green flag restart here on lap number 6. Moreno, the pole sitter, I guess an opportunity to take things back as they head through the Geico restart zone. Juergensmeyer will have control. Moreno to react on the high side, then some more Eliminator chase drivers behind. Green flag from Chicagoland. Wonderful jump by Juergensmeyer to turn 1.
Humble jumping really the inside line got rolling. Ethan Fonseca Moreno did not. He's going to be lucky if he can hang on the outside of AJ Hyder off of turn number 2.
And there's where Moreno's trying to find his place back into the podium spot. Hyder doinks his car down the inside. Right behind Amir Bascom trying to surge through. The winner from last week's race at Bristol trying to go back-to-back. And Hyder down the bottom, not letting Moreno skate away with it. Battle for 3rd back to the turn 1 area.
His battle for 3rd rages on. Jonathan Juergensmeyer, Connor Trafari, love seeing that in the rearview mirror as they're 2x2 really far deep in the field after these 2 leaders have stepped away.
And 3 wide behind them, there's cars down the inside, a Toyota down the middle. That's Nicholas Borowski trying to make sense in the middle of the top 15. He runs 13th as they come to 3 and 4. There's Connor Trafari trying to find his way on the outside. Moreno found some speed on the bottom shelf, held off AJ Hyder. And that is good news for the driver in the 00 right up the road, Nate. He would love nothing more than to see these 2 go side by side. And hey, bring in a couple more drivers to the party. He wants it to be a congregation for 2nd on back. He pulls away, and Moreno retakes 2nd.
And Moreno was able to really find some speed at the bottom of the racetrack. And Moreno, we talked about mile-and-a-halfs. Moreno's had speed. Oh, and Moreno is sideways out of turn 4. And he's going to make contact with Trafari. 2 of the top 3 in points make contact.
And he'll spill right in front of the points leader as Moreno goes sideways. No damage to either car, but a huge situation off turn 4. And the second consecutive yellow that we'll get from an incident at that very area of the racetrack. And a huge spill for Moreno in the middle of 3 and 4. Trafari stays unscathed. And the driver, who is trying to retake the points lead after a nightmare at Bristol last Thursday night, well, it looks like he hasn't escaped the nightmare quite yet. As we'll get another look at it on the replay, and just as simple as that, I think it might have been the aero packing situation, Nate, but what happens here in 3 and 4?
He's pretty far away from Connor Trafari and just loses it. And I'm honestly, I don't know if it's just me, I'm getting kind of flashbacks to the Homestead Miami race that we saw here right before the playoffs began, where it seemed in really the same spot on the exit of turn 4. A bunch of cars started losing it. This is 3 times already tonight.
Here's the onboard look for Moreno. And you're right, Nate, I didn't see any sort of aero packing from Trafari right behind. There are some really nasty bumps in the center of 3 and 4. That's one thing that really separates this Chicagoland Speedway from a lot of the other mile and a halves. You've got your bump in 3 and 4 at Texas. You've got your bump up high at 3 and 4 at Homestead. We've obviously talked about the nature of the nasty bumps at Iowa Speedway in the middle of 1 and 2, and especially down the bottom in 3 and 4. But here at Chicagoland, it's one of those tracks that, even though it's one of the youngest on the NASCAR sphere of racing surfaces, it is one of the oldest in terms of wear. It has not been repaved in its 24-year history, so all of the bumps, all of the abrasiveness, that's all there. It comes as a package deal here at Chicagoland, so unfortunately it catches Moreno out. And it's one thing to talk about bumps in any sort of car, but it's one thing to discuss bumps in this next-gen car. It's a very flat underbody, Nate. So what happens to the machine when this car experiences those bumps, and what happens to the downforce as well?
It feels it more severely. You know, it's already pretty low to the ground, and then the flat underbody certainly does not help. The car bottoms out and you just completely lose control of the race car. It's so much more difficult to save as well. It's more, you got to try to save it with the brake and the throttle more than you do the steering wheel, and that's really not something that's natural, especially when you've been running some of the other cars where you can put more steering input into it to get it to save. Here, it's easy to snap it back to the other side, like we've seen with Justin Rott and Ethan Fonseca Moreno.
And that will put Moreno all the way to the back. He's 26, and also a big thing to note, defending champion and the driver who started basically the furthest out from any other Eliminator chase machine, Steven Maggio, is just out of pit road right now, so some service on his Toyota Camry, potentially some damage. He was in there for almost 1 minute and 15 seconds. So the Super Mario Brothers Toyota Camry will be back out on the racetrack. He does not go a lap down, so it'll be big for the 51 machine, who again is trying to stay alive. He is in a pretty decent spot, plus 50 to that Eliminator chase cut line going into this race from Chicagoland. But you know, you and I, Nate, were talking about it prior to coming live here on the KBueno Racing Network. It's a tough mountain to climb if you're 50 points or below. It's a tough mountain to fall off of if you're 50 points or above, but it is not insurmountable. It is possible for you to fall off that cliff or surge up the mountain in a very quick amount of time. You could make up all those points. Given the situation of this Eliminator chase, it's a little more volatile with not a win in your in system, but with the double points being awarded to your best 2 races. Now you can count your worst race as 25%, but I mean, it is only 25%. It does still count in a certain sense, so you are still taking the brunt of the hit when you're talking about a poor race. Maggio trying to hope that tonight isn't one of those events. Juergensmeyer and Robinson take the field off turn 4. Second green flag restart, lap 12.
Nearly as good of a jump this time for Juergensmeyer. He's got Bascombe and Robinson glued to his bumper a little bit better coming out of turn number 2.
And there's Robinson. There's the crossover at the exit of 2. 3 wide behind them. Sawinski trying to dial in the bottom like Juergensmeyer did on lap 1. And right in the middle is Dahari. He'll make contact with AJ Hyder off turn 4. And a close call for the DuPont Chevrolet as the field swallows him up to turn 1.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that one didn't end in a bigger disaster. AJ Hyder not so happy about sliding back through the field, but he'll take that over being wadded up in the wall. but he's now back in the Hornet's nest. He's got to be on his toes, and he's got to be on the offensive.
It is an absolute mess in the middle of this pack, and that's exactly where AJ Hyder and a lot of the other Eliminator chase drivers do not want to be. And a switch for the 48 tonight as a huge crash happens right behind him. Donovan David goes sailing into the outside wall, and the yellow flies instantaneously. A huge mess up and a large crash at the exit of turn 4. And could that have caught Michael Walls in it?
Oh, it did. And that's big because Michael Walls, he came in, he needed a great race today if he wanted to advance. He's had those 3 straight top 10s. This is going to make it a lot more difficult for him to get a 4th one in a row.
And there was instant contact from the back end of Hyder Chevrolet to the front end of Donovan David. And the LSU Tigers car is going to be in some big trouble. Again, a huge pickup needed tonight, like you said, Nate. Back in the top 9 in this Eliminator chase. And off of 3 straight top 10s, trying to rally his way to a title. And unfortunately, a big setback here, 14 laps deep, as Donovan David finds the worst end of it, and his car totaled. Connor Zola also on pit road, the 3 main cars involved in this accident to bring out our 3rd yellow of the night. So let's see what happened here. AJ Hyder, again, had gotten knocked back from the initial contact 3 wide in the middle of turn 3, but it's Donovan David here, the Zevia pink and dark brown Chevrolet on the outside of Connor Trafari as he wobbles loose. It wasn't even the contact from Hyder that started the incident, but it's definitely the blow that finished it.
It looks like Michael Walls got tapped on the back end by Connor Zola after everything had started. But yeah, Donovan David, he was getting loose and he just about had it saved and came right across the front of the 48 car. But this is following the 24 of Michael Walls. Everyone starts checking up. He checks up a little bit. He's trying to get through, just about through it, and he gets barely caught in the right rear. Gets it locked down pretty well before hitting the outside wall. Certainly could have been a lot worse had he been going faster. Could have very well ended his day had he been at full speed when he got hit. Definitely
would have. It's a good place to get tapped there when you have a lot of space to the outside wall. When that curve starts hitting in from that front stretch, it's banked a little bit at about 10 or so degrees. It's 11 degrees down that front straightaway, so you have a bit more leverage in comparison to some of the other ovals we've seen on the schedule where, you know, there's not a lot of leverage and it's a bit more narrow. So for Michael Walls, perhaps could have escaped a huge bullet in his chance for a championship. He will continue to roll on, and his car will be all the way back in 15th. So not entirely terrible, given that a lot of the other drivers in front of him had come down pit road. Bad news, though, for the 13 of Connor Zola. He'll be out of tonight's race. His car is ducked behind the wall in the garage as he's 28th and a lap down and counting. Donovan David, his machine continues the repairs, but it's going to be a long night for the 4 machine, 29th and 3 laps down in the field. Looks like his car is also going to be out of tonight's event. So as we go under yellow here from Chicagoland Speedway, we acknowledge some of the good paint schemes tonight. Obviously, some of them are a bit more normal than we're accustomed to seeing in the entire season so far. But last week, we got into the cereal vibes and had the cereal bowl. A lot of the drivers got involved in a paint scheme contest to have the best cereal scheme. And Andretti Robinson, running second right now, is the man who has the crown when it comes down to voting on the best paint scheme. This is the scheme that he ran at Bristol last week. It was a white and yellow honeycombs car, and you know, I've never tried honeycombs in my life, Nate, but I think this makes me a bit hungry. It's a gorgeous scheme. Robinson had a tough race at Bristol, but I'm sure he would not like to talk about that. Back in action tonight from Chicagoland, still with a chance at a SAAC Cup Series championship, and look at that gorgeous scheme that he won the contest with last week.
Well, to be honest, I forgot about honeycombs until seeing that car. I haven't had a honeycomb since I think I was in elementary school. So that's a nice blast from the past. Yeah, speaking of blast from the past, how about a single file restart?
Yeah, it's single file, just like it's 1997. Green flag back in the air from Chicagoland. Dive down low. That's the loaded diaper Chevrolet of Gabriel Dehari down the inside. He'll take on Amir Bascombe heading to turn 1. And Robinson trying to force Sturgensmeyer out of line. He's got the nose down low. He's within a car length back to turn 3.
He put a little air under that 00 coming out of turn number 2 right there, did Andretti Robinson. But Jurgensmeyer, he's been really good just keeping the gap on the back straightaway and not letting guys get to him. He's been getting some pretty dang good exits.
And Robinson, much like he did last week, is in a themed paint scheme tonight. This is Star versus the Forces of Evil. That's one of the many cartoon paint schemes we have tonight as part of Cartoon Night. So a lot of the drivers, whether it be anime, whether it be American cartoons, it just has to be anything cartoon or animated related. Drivers have put out their best paint schemes tonight, and Robinson is the highest running amongst that group in the car right behind, trying to take that spot away. The Demon Slayer machine, Amir Bascombe, shot out of a cannon at Bristol last week. He told us just how happy he was to finally get a win, and he expressed in a Discord server it was his first league win ever. After all the time that he spent running iRacing, that was his joyous moment, getting to the checkered flag first, and said basically this was his moment, and trying to recapture that moment here from Chicagoland. A good running 21 car sits in third in the middle of some of these Eliminator chase drivers at the front.
I always say you get that first one done, it sort of breaks the seal and the rest come easier. And Amir Bascombe pressing for second place right now. I know it's early, but he could be someone that contends. Remember, at Miami, another similarly worn out mile and a half, he was pretty fast there as well.
And that was one of those tracks, one of those races in which Bascombe was fighting for eligibility into the Eliminator chase. He got in at the end of it all in the regular season, then got eliminated in that first round after a couple of rough outings. So it was a time to be happy for Bascombe after getting to victory lane last week. He would love nothing more than to do it all over again, try to create some SAAC Cup Series history. Still rallies behind the 45 of Robinson. The top three have also pulled away to the tune of maybe 3 or 4 tenths of a second. Brad Sawicki has sort of fallen back from this group, but he's leading another solid quartet of drivers. Gabriel Dahari right behind, Cody Rivera, James Bomar, and AJ Hyder. That's from just about 4th all the way down through 8th place. And for a driver like Cody Rivera, told us just how nice it was. Patient, of course, at the end of that Bristol race. He told us he was going to give it all that he got, but he understood the assignment, that a good points day was all that matters. Rivera jumps into tonight, minus 14 from the cut line. Another solid event could have him in the chance for a top 6 championship next week at Auto Club, a place where he tried to fight for the title just 1 year ago. There's James Bomar on the outside trying to make a move for 7th. That's 6th place on the board. AJ Hyder playing defense on James Thurston down this curve back straightaway.
Cody Rivera's fighting to stay just outside the top 5 there, 6th and 7th place, that battle. But Cody Rivera's, you know, he comes in, he says this is a good spot for him to be in, being just below the cut line. The unfortunate aspect of it is the race leader is the guy that he's chasing, so he's definitely going to need some help, or he needs to get up there. It's not always the most fair thing to say, hey man, you got to go win the race if you want to advance, but that's what it's looking like right now for Cody Rivera.
It's kind of hard to make up a sizable gap when you do well, but the driver you're going up against is doing also well. You don't really want to have yourselves on the same level playing field. You want to have that driver just a bit lower in terms of performance. Rivera's has a bit of a hill to get over, but right now still a lot of time to go in this race from Chicagoland. There's a look at Gabriel Dahari stepping into this cartoon-themed aspect of this race. It's Loaded Diaper, and if you don't know that, then I really don't know what to tell you. That's a Diary of a Wimpy Kid reference right there. That's the brother Roderick's band. You know, there's a big time song from Loaded Diaper from the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies. I'm not going to try and recite it because that would be an embarrassment to myself and to the people who made the song. But for Dahari, he's had a very good season so far. His 2 wins this year have come at worn-out mile-and-a-half tracks, and you brought it up, Nate, right before we went live. Las Vegas and Homestead, Miami, 2 tracks that are known to test the tires. And a driver at a track like that, Chicagoland, no different. It's a good start for the 72 up to 4th place.
Remember, you mentioned the gap between 3rd and 4th. It started to close now, with Gabriel Dahari being the one to kind of push forward on that as we get deeper into a run than we have all race.
As our Charlie Beyer photography onboard camera with Dahari gets a good look at the front-running 3. Bascombe has fallen back on Andretti Robinson in the battle for 2nd place, but good news for the 45 car. His machine is starting to find pace, and it's coming up from the high lane down on the 18 degrees of banking near the outside wall. Robinson has been able to stay within a car length on the race leader Juergensmeyer, so there may be a fight to behold inside the first 27 laps of tonight's race.
He's definitely getting the pressure on Jonathan Juergensmeyer out front of this field. But Juergensmeyer, he's still kind of managing that gap, but you see the draft. that Andretti Robinson gets. It's not a huge impact, but it's just enough on these straightaways. And now he's going to dive to the bottom. He's taking his chances. Juergensmeyer tries to rip the fence.
Hear how much throttle you put on the outside of these corners. Lots of grip here at Chicagoland, at least for right now. Robinson makes the charge down the interior lane. He's got a shot at the lead, and to make it the first proper lead change in just a little while. Sliding up high is Juergensmeyer. Robinson will follow him up the racetrack. Sideways goes the 45, and great defense by Juergensmeyer. Holds on to the lead back to turn 1, and Bascom's going to get a piece of it as well.
Yeah, Bascom looked like he might have got a little shot to the back of the 45. Maybe the 45 just made a late decision to get up, but Jonathan Juergensmeyer ran the top last lap in 1 and 2, and then he was on the outside again in 3 and 4, but didn't run the fence. Instead, got a little closer to the door of that 45. Didn't let him get a very good exit. Helped him with the momentum on the front stretch.
There's Bascom and the rest of the leaders running the high side near the wall. And we'll see the difference of lanes, especially as this run continues to go green. Stepping into right now what is our longest green flag run of the night here from Joliet, Illinois. What do you try to do, Nate, when you alternate lines? Obviously, it's that mission of finding grip, but what do you try to keep in mind whenever you're looking across the speedway and the banking and saying, hey, maybe I can try this line, maybe it'll help me in this fight for position?
Yeah, there's a couple different strategies. First and foremost is the thought process of saving tires. Oh, Andretti Robinson gets loose out of turn 4. He's going to spin right in front of everyone from second down into the grass. No caution yet. And that's a tough break for the 45.
Well, good news is he saved it. Robinson will keep this race green. And the challenge for the race lead eradicated. It's now down to a full second between those drivers second on back. And look who got ahead of them all. Cody Riveras, who again needed Juergensmeyer to be further back. This is the battle for the cut line to stay alive. Now they're 1-2 off of turn 4.
And how's that? Just to be kind of forecasted maybe 10 laps ago, we've now got these guys battling up front. We take a look at what really happened with Andretti Robinson here.
So it's through the bumps in 3 and 4. And his car just steps out. I mean, you're on the throttle right there. The car wants to grip up, but all of a sudden that grip could go away. And it's a wonderful save from Robinson. Caught the wall at the right time. Car went into the grass. He kept the car straight. And the good news is the rest of the field does not get involved. So we end up without a yellow flag. That's the bad news for Robinson. He'll fall all the way back to what's going to be 23rd on the racetrack. Again, a driver needing a huge night here from Chicagoland came into tonight's event 60 points out. The final driver in from the struggles last week at Bristol Motor Speedway. He's got another challenge to deal with as this race continues on with 102 laps to go. So it's Juergensmeyer at the head of the field. Riveras back behind him. 2 Ford Mustangs prancing at the front. Bascom back in third. The first Chevrolet on the running order. And then James Thurston, Gabriel Dehari. They may end up in a good tight battle for 4th place, but so far Dehari has Thurston beat. Shockey Tarpley in the 25 had a pretty deep start to this race, but he'll be in P6. AJ Hyder running 7th. Brad Sawinski running 8th in a battle with Connor Trafari. And then Michael Walls, who was involved in one of our first incidents of the night. How about the comeback as the spin
Brad
down the back
Sawinski
straightaway? Trafari gets into Sawinski, and that will bring out the yellow just as quickly as we caught it on screen. Trafari ends up tackling with the 28s, and the yellow flies for the 4th time tonight.
I feel like that one might have a lot more of a simple explanation than hitting the bumps at the top of turn 3 and 4.
Well, not entirely the easiest call to make if you're race control. But Trafari ends up tagging the 28 of Sawinski down the back straightaway. We remain under yellow now as the pace car has come out to the speedway. So what really happens here? This is a fight for position inside the top 7. We were just about to tag along onto this fight, especially with Michael Walls being that 3rd car right in the background. These two going side by side off the exit of turn 2. And I think it's just a simple case, Nate, of trying to side draft, reel the 28 back, but there was certainly contact. Trafari got a little too close to the sun and got splashed. Sawinski ends up with the spill.
Yeah, I think that's most likely what had happened. I couldn't see any reason why that would be intentional on the part of Trafari, but I also think this is a good time to mention the back straightaway is not very straight here at Chicagoland. It's curved, so it's a little tougher to judge your distance from someone than a normal oval.
That's true. Trafari tried to stay with the 28, spins him around, no damage for either car. I believe Sawinski has been docked out of this race, so he will fall short and be our 3rd DNF of the evening. First trip down pit road for the entire field. All those early yellows gave them enough time to decompress. Now our longest green flag run will give them a chance to slap on some new Goodyear Eagles. Jurgensmeyer coming in first. There are all of those hefty Eliminator chase drivers that have sort of struggled tonight. Trafari getting into the top 10. Moreno hasn't seen top 10 action since he was involved in that spill off of turn 4. Here's the fight off of pit road. Very close, and call it at the front. Steven Maggio out of nowhere on a 2-tire call was going to take the lead. Jurgensmeyer took it right back, but a huge recalibration for the Cairo, New York native. Top 5 for the first time tonight. It comes to lap 35.
Now, do you think anybody would have guessed that Steven Maggio would have been the one to take 2 tires to jump the entire field?
Well, I wouldn't say it's surprising, given his track record. He's we got to call him Steven 2-tire because that's his call. It's worked out a lot, especially at these tracks that, you know, the tires wear down, but you could have track position in your hands and stay in clean air and sort of stave off those drivers behind you. You know, I guess we may have to give him that nickname for Maggio. It ended up putting him in a position to win a championship last season. He ended up winning it, of course, outright at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. He's trying to do it all over again, become the first repeat champion in SAAC Cup Series history, but I mean, if you got to do it, you got to do it, right, Nate? I mean, if you've had a horrible race up until this point, why not try an alternative call and try to stand out at least a little bit?
Well, and especially, you know, we talked earlier in this race about how critical having the clean air is, and you see in front of him, those two that won the race off pit road wouldn't even be on the front row, as Justin Rott and Gabe Cazzola looked like they stayed out to get the clean air. So it's a similar story for all of these guys. Is you get in this clean air, it's going to be a lot easier to hold people off than it really would be at other tracks where clean air is not as big of a factor.
You know, Maggio had put himself in a position to win strategically at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, get his first win of the season, and in a very crucial point of the campaign in the Eliminator chase, but didn't really have enough fresh tires to keep himself up at the front. It ended up being an AJ Hyder win, and Maggio has expressed to us multiple times this year the frustration of staying out or having these 2-tire calls and getting track position all for it to go to the wayside and just have it not matter at the end of things and give Maggio a worse finishing position than what it would have been had the race maybe stayed green or had the strategy played out in its entirety. Maggio hoping that this green flag restart could be a breakthrough moment to get that 51 at the front of the field. It is 21 lap of a stint for Justin Rott and Gabe Cazzola, the duo that'll lead us to the green, and Jurgensmeyer points his nose through the middle, 3 wide for the lead to turn 1.
Jurgensmeyer wasting no time getting to the inside of Gabe Cazzola, who was playing some reindeer games on the restart. Oh, Maggio bobbled off the bottom of turn number 2. Everyone's going to stack up an accordion backwards.
It's going to be 3 and 4 wide down the curve back straightaway. Does Jurgensmeyer make the move on Rott? Yes, in 3 and 4 near contact. Rott will fall back to second. Rivera's takes over with a chance to run in the runner-up spot. Jurgensmeyer back to the lead from Chicagoland.
Yeah, the 2-tire and the no tires, it did not really work in another caution on the racetrack, so they might be able to get right back to pit road. Chris Lilly involved in this one.
Chris Lilly being involved in this latest spill, and AJ Hyder as well, 26 for the 48 machine. One of those Eliminator chase drivers stepping into tonight, 4th in standings, and there's some big-time damage on the rear end of his machine, as the yellow will come out once again, and another driver vying for the championship finds something to be involved in. And look at this mess at the exit of turn 2. This is right off the restart. Maggio had bobbled from the 2-tire call. A big push from Moreno, 3 wide in the middle of 3. And I think Hyder may have just had the touch. Nope, just got loose. I think aero packing from Moreno. Sliding up into Chris Lilly. Michael Walls getting involved, and Andretti Robinson getting a touch as well. And that is a big-time accident. 3 Eliminator chase drivers, it appears, involved in this latest scuffle.
Yeah, plenty of those drivers getting caught in the hornet's nest, and that's why it's such a big deal if you even just have a little slide without the damage. Now you're in harm's way. You know, Michael Walls was pretty fortunate that first time. Andretti Robinson did not get touched when he spun. And now we see here, it just happens in front of him, and the track gets really, really thin, really, really fast. Looks like Robinson didn't get a whole lot of damage. But, yeah, there's nowhere to go for these guys.
And that was a square hit, though, to the back end of Michael Walls' Chevrolet. Look at all those cars in the grass, Moreno being one of them. So, if you really counted 4 Eliminator chase drivers that end up being involved in this latest caution flag. And a second look, looks like more damage to the 45 machine of Andretti Robinson. That is a large dent on the front end of his Ford Mustang. Michael Walls is in. AJ Hyder will follow suit. And it's just a waiting game on who exactly will stay out. And those drivers, how much damage do they really have? For Michael Walls, is it enough to declare him out of this race? For AJ Hyder, how long will he spend on pit road, given the extension of the damage there in the middle of the corner? That car just stepping out from underneath you. That was a big problem for the 48 machine at Homestead, Miami. That's what took him out of action from South Florida. He was fighting for the lead, entering turns 3 and 4. The car just stepped out from underneath him. He overcorrected right into the outside wall. And that was an early exit for the 48 of Hyder, a driver who's won several races this season, including the Safe Driver Shootout at the Slinger Speedway that we covered not too long ago. And it seems like for all of those pink and purple bannered Eliminator chase drivers, it is a lot of trouble that they have to overcome, as Jurgensmeyer and Rivera will be the leading group from the pack of those Eliminator chase drivers. And if you want to find out which of those Eliminator chase drivers are where they are on the field, you can look at your top end of the ticker, that horizontal ticker on your screen. If the drivers are highlighted in pink and purple, that is your indicator that they are fighting for the championship.
Nice addition there to the graphics package. Helps the fans, know where the playoff drivers are running very easily. Helps us know where the Eliminator chase drivers are running easily as well.
And the front two decked out in pink and purple, as we should get the 1 to green signal right now. And because of the caution flag coming out right before we really completed that green flag lap, we will go single file restart here at Chicagoland Speedway, as 41 laps have been ticked across the board. Only one chance at strategy, really, that 2-tire call from Steven Maggio, and then the no-tire call from Gabe Cazzola and Justin Roth. They're going to be 3rd and 5th on this green flag restart, so they really got the better end of the stick, having an early yellow, a chance for those fresh tire cars to get a heat cycle in it. Those tires will get a little bit cold running under pacing, so it'll have a chance for the tires to even out over the course of the run, allow Roth and Cazzola to really elevate their level of performance, just given on the tire set that they remain on. The drivers were given 5 total tire sets, 4 extra on pit road, understanding the assignment that this is a very tough to drive Chicagoland Speedway, and one that really does eat up the Goodyear Eagles very quickly. So we'll keep an eye on the strategy as it unfolds. Maggio on the pair of tires to the right side of his car. He's going to be restarting in position number 6. So it's Jurgensmeyer in control. No real competition down the inside or from the outside lane. He'll be single file for this green flag restart. Lap number 42, sliding through the Geico restart zone. Jurgensmeyer with a comfortable launch as the field remains single to turn 1.
Once again, Gabe Cazzola is getting picked on the restart on those older tires. He gets up to the top shelf, but he's going to start sliding backwards most likely.
He'll stay in contention. There's Maggio down the bottom. And Shockey Tarpley trying to make this move, the 3rd car in this group, down the back straightaway, as James Thurston dials up the inside. He'll get on Justin Roth, 3 wide nearly. Cody Rivera holding on to whatever he can for 2nd, and Thurston takes over 3rd.
James Thurston on a hot streak in this Eliminator chase. Of course, not a contender, not a full season points driver. You mentioned that he's here for wins, and he's had some success at that as we're under caution. It's AJ.
And the night has gotten worse for the 48 machine. AJ Hyder involved. There's Ryan Jones. And this may be the dagger in his running for the championship. I see suspension damage on the right front. And AJ Hyder with a whale of a lick down the front straightaway. Yellow out once again at lap number 43. And again, it's all of these situations at the back. Hyder had just gotten his car repaired. Ryan Jones is 3 wide with Brad Sawinski and Fidel Fabian. They're going to sail into turn 3 with a chance at gaining position. And I think there might have been contact off of turn 4. Yes, right there with Fabian. Wiggles Hyder sideways and a square hit to the outside wall from the front bumper. That is sure suspension damage for Hyder. And again, someone who came into this race with a pretty decent margin on his cap, plus 54 heading into tonight's race, and may be fully eliminated after tonight. So here's the second look.
Middle 3 wide, and it's tough. You get squeezed out here.
That's a hard hit And that's right at the area of the racetrack where there is no safer barrier. Now, that doesn't matter in iRacing because, you know, the cars aren't really affected. Neither are the drivers in that sense. They are not going to get bodied out of the way by a safer barrier or non-safer barrier. It's not necessarily a sense of safety with these drivers on the sim, but it is one for a harder contact. That safer barrier does at least give in a little bit when you make contact with it, so you will get damage, but it will absorb a lot more of the impact. That straight up concrete wall right in that little short tube between the exit of turn 4 and then the beginning of that front straightaway, it does not have any give, so it's a quick ricochet off the racetrack. There's Fidel Fabian down pit road, and one of those cartoon-themed machines. That's a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure car, so we've got a lot of anime representation between Demon Slayer, saw JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. There are plenty other animes that I'm pretty sure I cannot name my memory, but a lot of them out there on the speedway tonight. Fabian with that front-end damage. There's Michael Walls right behind. Ryan Jones, among several of those that are taking their service down pit road and diagnosing what's wrong with the race car.
Is having problems with the race car, and if that is the night for AJ Hyder, by my math, it would put him in 27th place at the end of this. That's 38 points. So that will mean that if he were to be passed, for him to be passed by Cody Rivera, he's 54 points ahead of Cody Rivera. So Cody Rivera, trying to do math in my head here, never really been my strong suit. I believe would still have to be a top 2 or better finish for Cody Rivera to get by AJ Hyder.
And again, these were the live points going into tonight's race, with the gap of 14 from Juergensmeyer and Cody Rivera, that gap of 54 from that bright yellow number 48 of AJ Hyder coming into tonight. Fourth in standing, Steven Maggio was a couple points right behind him. It's relatively tight in the top 5. We mentioned all of those tussles for the points lead, how quickly things have shifted over the last several weeks between Connor Trafari, Gabriel Dahari, and Ethan Fonseca Moreno. It really just took one really poor race for Moreno to shove him from first to third out of the standings from Road America after a good race then, and then what was a really poor outing at Bristol Motor Speedway just last Thursday. For Dahari, it was also a tough race to overcome, falling to second. And again, it's still close between all those drivers in the top 9. And like we mentioned, given the circumstances of tonight's race, everyone is still mathematically eligible to shift around. There could be drivers that are taken out of the context. There are drivers that could really launch themselves forward, especially those at the very bottom of that championship cut line. For right now, as it stands, Moreno sits back in 13th, trying to re-grab the points lead with Connor Trafari in 8th. AJ Hyder is 27th, 2 laps down. He's going to keep his dog in the fight for now. We'll keep an eye and we'll give you the update on what happens with Hyder moving forward tonight. So another single file restart at the hands of Juergensmeyer. The Illinois native will see the green flag, trying to grab a win at his hometown track with Cody Rivera right behind. Justin Rott, James Thurston, and Steven Maggio remain in the middle of this top 5. Green flag restart lap 47. Juergensmeyer the good start. Thurston peaking high to turn 1 on Justin Rott for 3rd place.
High, but let Steven Maggio get down to his inside. And speaking of down the inside, Cody Rivera with a whale of a run. Middle of turn 1 and 2, gets really close to Jonathan Juergensmeyer on the low end.
Won't make the move though, not close enough. Down the back straightaway, Justin Rott under fire from Thurston, the Ford Mustang. Dialing the inside, that's a Hatsune Miku car trying to jam his way to the front. And he's got to look at 3rd at the exit of 4. And like you said, Nate, the spoiler that James Thurston has been embracing in terms of that role over the course of this postseason. 2 victories in this crucial part of the year. One at Darlington, got the other one at Road America in dominating fashion. 3 race victories this season. One of those all-time favorites to go at it for the win tonight was just 1 spot short at one of our last mile-and-a-half trips at the Homestead of Miami Speedway. Fell to Gabriel Dahari, slides into 3rd. Maggio using the 2 tires to skid into 4th. Near contact off 4.
All sorts of battling all over this back end of the top 10.
Maggio, Tarpley, Rott, and Cazzola. And Connor Trafari right behind in 7th. Again, the man in the points lead control going into this race. Trying to rally off another good top 10 after a solid effort at Bristol. Could have had the shot at the win. And he'll dial up the bottom on Rott at the exit of 4. Wall contact from Tarpley. Sends him up high. Trafari gets the 2 for 1. Back to turn 1. He's up to 5th.
And he's using those tires to his advantage, and he's going to have another chance on the 2-tire stock car of Steven Maggio, as they're almost 3 wide for 2nd there. Jonathan Juergensmeyer, he's like, yeah, I like the look of that. once again in this race, but he may not like the look of James Thurston, now clear for second, and he is hard charging through this field.
Other than Jurgensmeyer and Maggio, the fastest car in this group, 30.021, and he's ripping the top at the moment. Rivera will strike back on the Super Mario Brothers car down the inside. Rivera will have a chance to take away third. And what a wonderful view. The sunset here at Chicagoland Speedway will continue to go down. The lights may flicker on by the time this race is over. And the battle persists. In the look for third, contact down the straightaway, just hip checking each other out of the way. They'll stay even to turn 3.
With a really valiant effort on those 2 tires, he's going to definitely be struggling for grip more than Cody Riveras is. That's for certain, and he's doing a great job to hang on to that spot.
And Maggio trying to stay alive in this fight, 5th in the standings, 1 ahead of Jurgensmeyer by a pretty sizable margin. It's near 40 points between those drivers. It gets really close, but Maggio has put on such a sustainable race for right now on a 2-tire call, and you'll fling Rivera down the bottom, and this fight just continues all the way to 3 and 4. Just wonderful racing. Rivera slides up high. They'll get into each other off the corner. Trafari will make use of the opportunity to turn 1. Near disaster for both of the Eliminator chase drivers.
Yeah, it came really, really close, and it could have been much bigger with, again, Connor Trafari right behind them, but it all gets settled out, and the big loser there, Cody Rivera, he's losing another spot to Amir Bascom.
Let's get another look at it as they exited turn 4, and we've seen a lot of drivers get very tight at the exit of the final corner. It was just razor thin between Rivera and Maggio. That is fine driving between those two to not only keep it off of each other further from contact, but also making sure they avoided a potential huge crash that could have taken either of their chances at a championship down into the dumpster. Maggio will hold on for third as Jurgensmeyer continues to lead, but that gap is shrinking. A full 10th quicker was James Thurston on the last lap, and he's charging.
James Thurston is moving, and I feel like this has been the story. And the couple chances we've had at a longer green flag run is Jonathan Jurgensmeyer runs away. But as we start to get, 10, 15 laps into one of these things, I think it becomes a lot clearer that he maybe doesn't have the long run pace that some of his competitors do.
And we've seen Thurston sustain over a long green flag stretch. New Hampshire was a really good shot at it. And again, another what-if race for Thurston over the course of this year. He's won 3 already, but he's had a chance to win maybe 4 or 5 races total over the course of 2025. He nearly had a shot at New Hampshire, finished second there. Homestead and Miami could have won that race and finished second there as well. Many a race in which Thurston had a game-winning strategy, but just either used up his strategy a bit too early or the car just wasn't there when he needed it the most. And at a 1.5 mile like Chicagoland, you can always bank on Thurston to be one of the fastest drivers in the field. He levels out with Jurgensmeyer. That time the 00 just a tad faster at a 30.571. So the Illinois native making use of the clean air. Stephen Maggio trying to rally his way back into this mix. So fight for second might start to build up in just several laps time between those two.
James Thurston, you mentioned the tracks that he's won at Darlington, the 2 road courses, Portland and Road America. Then the tracks he's also run well at New Hampshire, Miami. All those tracks are kind of high wear race tracks. You really have to manage your stuff. Chicagoland, no different. He's one of the guys that does extremely well at that, as is Jonathan Jurgensmeyer. And I think that's what we're going to start to see prevail as these runs get long, should they continue to get long like this one.
Well, with Chicagoland, it's a bit of an odd case, right? Because you think of other 1.5 miles where the bottom will roll seamlessly, even though you've put a lot of energy into it over a run. You want to stay at the inside of the racetrack. It'll save the right front tire a lot more than it would if you were running the high lane where the right rear tire starts to go away. But a phenomenon that occurs here at Chicagoland is that the tires wear down so much, the track slickens up so much at the bottom, it's hard to make passes down the inside. You want to be up in the middle, maybe in that third groove to hold off defensively. For Thurston, he's starting to feel the effects of that. How difficult does it get to make these passes once these laps kick in, especially for Maggio that he's only got 2 tires on his Toyota Camry? Is radio silence for Thurston. He's saving fuel.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. The tires, they lose their grip to get down there on the bottom, so you have to find something up top, but it's just not faster, generally speaking. So it's these runs get long. That's why you see these guys get so aggressive on the restarts, and why we've had those accidents on the restarts where they're 3 wide and kind of pinball off of one another. They're trying to make positions because they know what's coming once we get deep into a run.
And now it's going to be fascinating to see what happens with Maggio and the company that's starting to contingent right behind this 82 machine of Thurston. It looks like Maggio and the rest of the guys are saying we're going to go in different lanes. We are not going to follow in the tracks of this 82 car. Meanwhile, Jurgensmeyer continues to pull out in front. It isn't necessarily an insurmountable gap. It's actually gone down to 3/10 for Jurgensmeyer between himself and the rest of this field, but it is starting to get razor thin. And there's the onboard look from Jurgensmeyer back to turn 1. He's not saving like Thurston is. He's just going to run this one all the way dry, but some trouble for the 00 over the last several laps. Just has not been on his marker yet.
Yeah, that gap, the gap staying the same or even closing when the guy behind you is saving, that's not, it's clearly not a good sign for the pace that you have in your car, but he's been able to manage the gap just enough, and every time we think Thurston's getting close, he just puts a good lap down, gets a little more space between the two. He's done a really good job of managing this lead, leading almost 60 laps tonight.
And what a journey it's been for Jurgensmeyer. Only one prior career victory in the SAAC Cup Series. That came the way of the Talladega Superspeedway several seasons ago. But for the 00, has not been in a position to win another race. He's been close enough, but has not been able to find that checkered flag yet. Still looking for that one, and how big would it be if it came tonight? 14 above the cut, and he could surge up like a rocket, have a chance further at the championship that will avoid triple points, or will award triple points heading into Auto Club Speedway next week. Here's the big bobble from Trafari. That's the car running fifth. Cody Rivera slides up from the high side, and how about some more invitations? James Bomar and Gabriel Dahari, they've been a bit silent over this green flag run, and they're here, the top 7, all within a second on the racetrack.
Kind of moved quietly to get back up there. Bomar, of course, qualified great, had a bit of an issue there on the opening lap, but has been able to rebound pretty well. Gabriel Dahari gets back into this group here. Dahari, again, you talked about him. He won at Vegas, he won at Miami, 2 high-wear, mile-and-a-half racetracks. So Amir Bascom with a big slide through turn number 2. That'll help Gabriel Dahari and James Bomar each grab a spot. Dahari, he certainly has his eyes on getting a win in this race, perhaps, jumping further up the standings board here. He's second by just 4 points, so he definitely wants to get that lead coming to Auto Club Speedway, which is another high-wear intermediate that he should be pretty quick at.
And the level of perspective change for Dahari from last week to this week. Right now running top 10 in 7th place. At Bristol Motor Speedway in those final few laps, he was watching Amir Bascom in the rearview mirror, not for track position. He was getting lapped in those final few laps at Bristol. It was that rough of a race for the Houston Texan, but he's rallied back in this one. A good run tonight. He's kept his car clean for what it's worth. And for all intents and purposes, we could be talking about Dahari maybe coming back to the points lead, which will be very monumental going into Auto Club Speedway and the finale next Thursday night. But he's got work to do. He'll file on the outside of James Bomar, and look at the run from up there. That was sort of what we were talking about, Nate. All the wear that comes down to the inside lane through those bumps, it's hard to get back in the throttle. Dahari just made exemplary use of the 15 car, just right in the middle lane, rallied through, and the car just surged out ahead. Got a couple more cars to beat, though.
Yeah, he's making some pretty good pace getting through, guys, and of course, he's got a target right on that 9 car in front of him, because that's the guy he's chasing to get back to the points lead. And to have that points lead going into Auto Club is so crucial, because it's triple points in a week's time, and that's Bradley Sawinski around and in the wall again.
Another caution caused by the 28 car, at least one that he's involved in, and that's a lot of damage to the front end of his Chevrolet as he piggybacks up. And we'll try to get his car back to full song as we get around the iRacing official pace car. Another long green flag stretch, and it's interrupted by this spill on the front straightaway of the racetrack. It has been a trouble spot all night long. Here's the second look. It's him and Nicholas Borowski battling for what was 21st on the racetrack. And just as simple as getting just a bit too high at the exit of turn 4.
Yeah, right out of racetrack, out of turn number 4, and it's synchronized spinning down the front stretch. Pretty rough day for Bradley Sawinski.
He's been involved in several cautions tonight, and several of the machines that are wearing pink tonight, not entirely fully because they are getting into the cartoon theme. That is a big reason why, if it is a big-time color of the cartoon, like you see with James Thurston's car there. Lots of pink, but that's because Hatsune Miku's colors are the teal and pink and black and white. A lot of those colors represented, but a lot of the pink out there on the racetrack for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We always try to bring awareness to that every October here on the KBueno Racing Network. So you see that pink ribbon on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen on our ticker. That's our little indicator of our Breast Cancer Awareness Month. as we are winding down in the midway portion of October. As here comes the field down pit road. We saw a 2-tire call from Maggio. Does it stay the same this time by? Juergensmeyer will lead him on in.
Be interesting to see what kind of strategy gets pulled. Saw just 1 2-tire stop. 2 guys stayed out under that first caution. At the halfway point of this race.
And as everyone comes in, wholesale service for the field. It's another quick stop, and that indicates another 2-tire call for the 51 of Maggio. Cody Rivera exits out first. He'll take the lead off of pit road. Juergensmeyer falls back to nearly third off the pit lane, and it's a 2-tire call for Cody Rivera that gets him out ahead.
That's the kind of gutsy track position play that he needed to try to jump Jonathan Juergensmeyer. It's been tough to do on these green flag runs because Juergensmeyer's nailed the restarts and driven away from everybody. Now he's going to have to catch up to Cody Rivera, match him on this upcoming restart.
So how differently will this car handle now that it's got 2 fresh Goodyear Eagles other than 4? We saw in that restart where Maggio had taken the 2 tires. His car had just bobbled a bit at the exit of turn 2. It ended up with the crash involving AJ Hyder. But does Rivera flinch now that he's in control of the race lead as we approach halfway in tonight's race from Chicagoland? It'll be 3 Ford Mustangs at the front. Rivera, Thurston, Juergensmeyer, Maggio on a solid call as 4th, Gabriel Zahari 5th, James Bomar P6, and then Trafari, Moreno, Bascom, and Tarpley remain as the rest of the top 10. And a lot of great paint schemes tonight. Another one here from this 36 machine of Rivera. That's a Cuphead car, not entirely a cartoon per se, at least when the game came out, but then they made an animated series about it, so technically it is a cartoon, but it kind of goes off of those old 1950s, 1960s black and white cartoons. You know, we talk about Steamboat Willie, Steamboat Mickey, the OG Disney intro, that's all in black and white. Nate, do you have any favorite cartoon characters, maybe cartoon series that you watched growing up?
Definitely not any that are that old, but I was always growing up, I was a huge Lego Ninjago kid. And actually, last night I was just scrolling through YouTube and I found someone about their least favorite Ninjago episodes. I was like, oh, wow, what a blast from the past. So I'm a little, masters of spin jitsu on the racetrack. Although I would say turn 4 is turning a lot of these drivers into masters of spin jitsu.
Wow, that's a good pull right there, Nate. I mean, it's funny to say blast from the past, but we're talking about a show that came out in, what, 2010? What, like, that's 15 years ago. That's still a long time, but I think maybe some drivers in this field, maybe some people watching on the KBueno Racing Network will tell us we've kind of got it all wrong in terms of classic cartoons. Green flag back in the air, lap 71. There's some smoke at the exit of 4, but nothing to be worried about. Rivera takes the lead, and the Mustangs will lead the field back to 1. Again, a 2-tire call for Rivera, figuring out how it works in the first 2 corners.
He also gets the benefit of that single file restart. No challenge automatically to his inside, so he's going to be able to maintain this lead pretty easily without making a mistake. This sets the gambit pretty interestingly for the rest of the Thurston. He wants to change.
Pushing the pawn forward is Thurston, trying to soft launch a pass for the lead, and he's going to hard launch it off of turn 4. What a move by Rivera as he hit the outside wall, and Thurston had slid on by. Here comes Juergensmeyer for second to turn 1.
Yeah, these 4 tires are not wasting any time putting the work on Cody Rivera. He wasn't able to use the dirty air to his advantage perfectly, and now they're side by side for second as James Thurston blasts off with the lead.
He just slid right on the highway. Cody Rivera had been right up on the boards. Again, the 2 fresh tires working out just a bit. Maggio flailing right behind in this defense on James Bomar. And the fight for second will continue, so it's a reverse of what we've seen all night long. Juergensmeyer has enjoyed the company of side-by-side action in the rearview mirror. Now Juergensmeyer has to be the hunter, in this case off turn 2, and Thurston's ahead by at least 4 car lengths.
Yeah, Juergensmeyer, he's getting so close to clearing Cody Rivera at the center off exit of these corners, and Rivera just hangs on his quarter panel a little bit, and now Juergensmeyer's not really able to get close on the inside of the corner. Really good job defending from Cody Rivera. He slams the door at the front straightaway.
And look at all those cars all the way back to Dahari. And your top 7 indicated by just 0.8 of a second. That's how close it's been tonight. Bomar strikes the high shelf on Maggio, and it'll be a fight for 4th place. With the onboard camera from Bomar.
is all over the back of Jonathan Juergensmeyer.
He's just doing all that he can to get on the high side. Now he'll switch down the bottom, just trying to go where the other driver is not. He'll point the nose down the inside. Juergensmeyer playing more defense. Again, it was a 4-tire call for Juergensmeyer, so not entirely one that would be taking him out speed-wise, but it's been more of a struggle for Juergensmeyer now that he stepped into dirty air really for the first time all night long. It's really been that first opportunity. We've seen that 00 Permatex car getting into traffic, trying to bob and weave through all of those cars in front. It's still relatively close to the race leader, but again, things can change as we approach halfway here tonight from Chicagoland. So as the sun continues to set, we again watch that battle for the points lead. It was between a trio of Dahari, Trafari, and Ethan Fonseca Moreno. And despite the early struggles for the 92 car, the Californian has stepped up back into the top 10 in sort of a resurgence for the driver who's won 4 races this season. It's been quite a year for this driver right here, looking for the title next week at Auto Club Speedway. If he gets a solid one tonight, he is guaranteed a spot for the finale next Thursday. But again, you want to be at the top spot. You want to have that momentum. And after a night like Bristol 1 week ago, he's looking to reverse all of the curses tonight. He runs in this 3rd in his standings, 9th running, and surging on Amir Bascom, a good friend of his.
We talked a lot about the cut line, but it does not reset coming into this championship race next weekend. So you want to be as far up the points battle as you can. When it's triple points at Auto Club Speedway, it's going to be a lot easier for guys to gain on you. So you just want to have more points over them anyway, so you can make it effectively a single point race where you just got to run in front of these guys. Also, when we were on board with that 15 car, I don't think that's not just Little Caesars car. That's a Smiling Friends Little Caesars car. We looked at that logo, like the Little Caesars pizza guy.
It's
Charlie from Smiling Friends.
Oh, I do see it. Okay. Oh, spinner right behind. Cody Rivera hard into the wall. He'll get sent around. Maggio gets caught up with it, and another huge dagger to the shot at the championship.
What a change of pace for this one.
And that is a heap of damage on the 36 car. And after a runner-up finish last week, the spirits were high for the Rivera's camp. And this Cuphead machine smashed at the exit of 4.
That car is destroyed. And Steven Maggio took a pretty big hit in this as well. We'll see if he's going to be able to continue. I don't think the 36 will. This is following him. Closes right up to James Thurston. A little love tap going into the corner. And it just steps out from under him. And then the contact with the 00 just nails the wall.
And Gabriel Dahari also got damage from that as well. He backed up, but still hit the car right in front of him. We'll get the secondary look. Maggio had been caught in it. And really, he had nowhere to go. But Dahari ends up with a lot of damage. Again, these are all Eliminator chase drivers right here behind that 15 of James Bomar. So as Riveras goes sideways and he overcorrects into the wall, he's going to catch 3 more cars in the warning track. And it's Maggio with the hit. Dahari who hits Riveras. Bascom slams into Maggio. The only one that escapes scot-free, Connor Trafari, that green car in the middle.
Connor Trafari, someone might be asking Connor Trafari where he's got the horseshoe at, because he was really close to getting into this one, and the points leader's able to survive. Oh
Wow.
my goodness. How'd you like to see that from the driver's POV? This car's coming right at you. There's not a whole lot you can do as the driver in that situation. You just gotta get to the bottom as best as you can and hope that nobody comes down faster than you do.
You cannot get it closer than that. Trafari's season basically flashed right before his eyes as another heartbreaker for Maggio, who has spent the last several weeks playing the recovery game from qualifying starts that haven't been as solid to being involved in some incidents here and there, several early race spins. I recall New Hampshire being one of them, opening lap spills on Phoenix. And then for this 51 machine, it's been all about trying to regain track position. He did so at Bristol last week. It kept him alive in the fight for the championship. But tonight, it may just be game over for the Super Mario Brothers machine, as there's Cody Rivera, Samir Bascom, and several others dealing with their ailed race cars on pit lane. And that takes out several championship contenders. Dahari is out and away, his car fixed. But for Riveras, it may not be as easy. Maybe a very lengthy repair as this race continues on from Chicagoland. Let's try and get a word with Riveras there as the caution comes out with 81 laps complete. And Cody, I can't imagine the emotions here after a situation like that, running in the top 3. This car spills around on you. Tell us what happened from your perspective there at turn 4.
Yeah, there's that big old bump in turn 3, and I was well past that. I have no idea what happened. That's the most mysterious spin I've ever had on this game, and it sucks. I'm embarrassed. I feel bad for Steven. I had an incredibly fast race car, and we just couldn't get a long enough run for me to actually show it. I should have passed Jurg before that lap 35 caution. I have no short run speed. All my speed's on the long run. Took a risk on 2 tires to try to get to 10 points. I was 14 points below the cut line, and I know, I needed something nice to beat Jurg, and he was running great. But, yeah, man, that's just embarrassing, heartbreaking to be so close and running so well with a chance to get into the final 6 next week. That sucks.
Definitely a heartbreaker. We feel for you, Cody. It was a fantastic run you put up until then. Hopefully you can recover at least just a bit in tonight's race. Best of luck.
I'm out of the race, man. I got too much damage.
Oh, well, for Cody Riveras, it looks like night is over. Thank you for the time, Cody, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Kenneth. Appreciate you.
So a heartbreaker, a dagger for Cody Riveras. His night is done. And we'll get the green flag restart here, lap 83. We await condition on Steven Maggio. His car remains in this race, although he is the last car on the lead lap. Green flag with 52 laps to go from Joliet, Illinois. And how about the surge from James Bomar, looking to the inside on Juergensmeyer, taking no prisoners to turn 1.
Just drives right down there. It's a good jump on the restart. He's able to match him through turns 1 and 2. Now he's going to have the bottom. Tire's still a little bit fresh. Should be able to make the bottom work. We'll see how harshly Jonathan Juergensmeyer defends the spot here. But he's able to roll the center of that corner really, really well. Just about clear. Dives down to the apron. Cut into the racetrack just as much as he can. He should have the spot into 1.
He'll look for it. Nose ahead in 1. He's got it. And James Bomar, a race high second. After, Nate, you caught that little bit of an Easter egg there on the front hood of the race car, giving the space to Juergensmeyer at the exit of 2. They'll stay side by side into turn 3. And although it does kill the momentum for Cody Riveras and Steven Maggio, it does help out Ethan Fonseca Moreno a little bit. It gains him some more track position. He'll be up into a race high 5th after being basically spun around from nearly that exact same position earlier on in the night. Now running single file with those front running few.
He came into this race 10 points behind Connor Trafari did Ethan Fonseca Moreno. And so he's now got his sights set on him. He wants to get past him because, again, they're kind of harping on it, but you want to be in the points lead because you can treat Auto Club as though it's a really 1x points instead of 3x points and just beat the guy ahead of you. You don't have to worry about trying to calculate everything. It's easy, just finish ahead of everyone else.
And then it gets real stressful because look at all of these non-eliminator chase drivers up at the front of this field. Thurston leads it right now by 0.2 of a second. And then this battle for P2 continues to rage on down the back straightaway. Bomar and Juergensmeyer giving it all that they've got. How do you respect the level of competition up at the front? Because, again, you want to play spoiler if you're Thurston or James Bomar, but obviously you've got that level of mutual respect. As there's the spinner off turn 4. It's Moreno sliding through the grass, and he'll save it.
Rips it through the grass, so there's not going to be any caution for that, most likely. And just as we were talking about him getting back into the championship battle, he loses it off of turn 4 again for shades of about lap 10 in this race, which feels like it was forever ago. But to your question about racing with etiquette, we asked James Thurston this after the Darlington race, how he manages, battling these guys up at the front. And he said he's really just here to win. He doesn't want to wreck anyone to win, but he's certainly going to race hard for it. And we've seen that out of him playing spoiler a couple times.
That tension has grown over the last few weeks as Thurston has, of course, run for those wins. Darlington being probably the closest call between himself and Eliminator chase drivers. He really had no one else to challenge at the Virtual Road America circuit other than Austin Duran until Duran had made a fateful mistake at the exit of the 8th corner on the racetrack. But really, it's been a balance of trying to be aggressive, but also making sure you respect those drivers that are running for the title and you don't ruin their race. Thurston has done a great job of doing that. And shout out to James Bomar, only one top 10 this season from Talladega Superspeedway. That was the site of his only pole in 2025. And despite starting on the front row, leading some laps at Bristol, things had turned sour. The 15 car dropped to 28th at the checkered flag. So looking for his standout race tonight and his best finish of season 4. Very good race car tonight from Chicagoland.
He's been really impressive, and remember, he's one of those guys that had to climb through the field. He was really the first person to fall victim to turn 4 in this race, and he's done a really good job getting up to second place. He's used, the cautions to his advantage. He's made really good moves on restarts, but he was able to navigate the Hornet's Nest better than really anybody else tonight.
He'll run second, still several car lengths behind the race leader. Our next good battle is inside the top 6, and how about the recovery for Andretti Robinson? All that damage that was on the front end of his Ford Mustang Dark Horse has seemingly been eradicated. Now it's a clean Ford Mustang, trailing to turn 1. And he's in a fight with the 31 machine. That's that Tax Layer Chevrolet of Ollie Reeves, former Eliminator chase driver that was basically taken out of championship contention after the initial round in the top 16. But the Star versus the Forces of Evil car will be back in contention after a very quick start to the race for Robinson. Had a chance at the lead on Jurgensmeyer, and a possible opportunity, door open here for Robinson to make an effort at it and try for the race victory here tonight. A couple car lengths behind is where you'll find Michael Walls, and how about this night as well for the 24 machine. He's, like many, have been back and forth over the course of the evening, trying to basically remain stable at this juncture of the night. And past halfway, he's got a clean LSU race car in this fight with Alexander Schumacher for top 10 territory. And I'd say, despite a lot of the negatives from Riveras, Maggio, and some of the others that have accrued damage tonight, AJ Hyder being included, several bright spots, and of course, still things blown wide open for those who want to point themselves above that red line after this night is over.
Yeah, Michael Walls in this race, kind of giving me shades of Monday night. He was involved in a wreck on lap 1, spent the entire race repairing his car and working his way through the field, and he was able to come through and win the race, the KBRN Truck Series at Auto Club Monday. Perhaps something similar could be in the cars. We really haven't had a chance to see the speed of that 24 car, but he's made his way through the field pretty nicely.
And in the terms of the Eliminator chase fight, he's in between two Texans. He's got Dahari from Houston right behind him, and then the Universal City native of Andretti Robinson running in P6, who's now a couple cars up the road now that he's passed that 31 machine of Ollie Reeves. And I believe there is fresh tires on the 72 machine of Dahari. He spent a bit of time down pit road about 12 laps ago, so it was a chance for the 72 to kind of recalibrate, get his car back in action, as a near block from Tarpley sends Robinson down to the way bottom on the front straightaway. And there's Trafari up the road, contact in turn 1.
All kinds of battling, and the Hornet's Nest has moved here to the back end of the top 5. And, where did Ollie Reeves come from? He haven't really talked about him much at all tonight, but hey, he's the season 0 winner here at Chicagoland. We know he's capable of doing it, and watch him get up on the fence and put the hammer down. We'll see this run that he gets off of this corner right here, right to the back of Tarpley. Looks like he just steps out of it a little bit, gets a side draft on Andretti Robinson. That's definitely a lane that you can make work here. It's not, it's not quite Homestead Miami Speedway as far as the top lane being fast, but it's certainly pretty quick.
You're using a lot of throttle as well. That onboard look really showed you the level of throttle input that Ollie Reeves has in the middle of that corner as he's momentarily 3 wide. Gabriel Dahari trying to spearhead his way through the mix in the midst of this top 10. But you're using so much of that gas pedal on the high side of the racetrack. The only problem is you get to that outside wall and it comes up quick. Not out of turn 2, but they're out of turn 4. How many times have we seen drivers strike the wall by just getting a little too eager, wearing out that right front tire, and slapping the safer barrier? It's been counted more times than not tonight in this race. And Reeves, making use of the boards, just has to be aware of that as he makes use on Connor Trafari, who I think bobbled about a lap or 2 ago, so could be in the reins to be passed by several of those pink and purple bannered race cars behind him.
He was able to check up the 31 nicely there, putting on a pretty solid defensive show, but he is under fire for certain. And this is Connor Trafari, again, your points leader as we run right now. And he has not really had a challenge. Dahari and Moreno have had their issues in this race. Both have been involved in some accidents. There's Dahari a couple of spots behind him. That's the driver 4 points back of him. But he's really just trying to get a smooth race and, again, build his gap, but at the very least maintain that top spot going into Auto Club.
Yeah, for him, it's basically just have a solid race, and that's basically it. I mean, the same for Moreno and Trafari. Obviously, they do want the points lead, but if they can escape tonight with a top 10, top 5, maybe even a top 3, if they don't win this race, it will still be good for them. They'll gain solid points. They'll have double points for their solid races. And, you know, you look at your worst races, 25% counted. If you have 3 good races, and if you have multiple top 10s on record, you know, your drop is really going to be a good drop because you don't have any really bad races on your record. As Dahari tries to physically move Ollie Reeves out of the way. Near shove down the straightaway. Shockey Tarpley is playing massive wall defense and contact in turn 1. This is a 5-car gaggle all the way up to 3rd place.
Jonathan Jurgensmeyer has been slowly falling back to the clutches of this group. They've been running up on him pretty quick as the 2 leaders get away from him. He led early the first 66 of the first 70 or so laps of this race, and now he's under fire from Tarpley and everyone else behind him, and trying to just put on some defense. He lost the lead under caution, and that's really been the story for Jonathan Jurgensmeyer tonight.
Well, the good news is the 2 drivers ahead of him are not members of that Eliminator chase, so he really doesn't have any pressure up the road. It's really just all these cars behind him that are trying to take away crucial points that could keep the 0-0 in the fight. Although, the good news for the Illinois native in Jurgensmeyer is that Cody Riveras is out of this race. So with that contact and with that situation, Jurgensmeyer really doesn't have anything to fight for, as Tarpley will get spun at the exit of turn 4. He'll come back up the racetrack and nearly take someone out. There's the yellow with 32 laps to go.
Just as we were talking about playoff battles and cars being taken out of the race, I thought we might have seen another one with that spin right there in traffic. But this is going to offer us another opportunity to see who's going to play some strategy. This is at about that 3/4 point in the race.
Second
see
look.
What happens here? Just
straight up contact with Dahari. I mean, you think about it, the defense from the 25 had been pretty aggressive, to say the least. Not that he deserved the contact. It's just a matter of he was playing hard-nosed defense. He was staying up in the front. We'll get a second look at it. He may have had some help at the exit of turn 4. But again, this is boiling over from several laps of contact between himself, Dahari, and Ollie Reeves. Even a bit of Qatar Trafari. You know, they're all running aggressively, trying to get as much as they can. Oh, just a simple case of Dahari just washing up in turn 4.
Yeah, right. He ran out of racetrack really quick. We've talked about it with guys hitting the wall, but if you're in that second lane, it's not a wall that you're going to hit. It's the car up on the outside. So kind of similar story to what we've been talking about all night, just a different chapter, if you will. And now we get to see the strategy play here at the front of this field. It'll be, I believe, 32 laps to go when they come to pit road this time.
It will be just about 32 remaining from Chicagoland Speedway, as James Thurston will continue to lead as they'll come down pit road. Remember, we've seen those 2-tire calls come into action tonight, as several drivers have elected to gain track position that way. Of course, Cody Riveras did it when he took away top 3 territory. Steven Maggio did it to gain into the top 5. He's all the way to the back now with the damage fixed. Who decides to strike towards that call next? This could be the most pivotal call that we see, Nate. If you go 2 tires versus 4, jacks are up on Thurston. Everyone else is in this time.
So just going to keep my eyes peeled. It is 4 tires for Thurston here. Gets off a pit road. Gabe Cazzola jumps a little bit. He might have been one of those 2-tire stoppers right there. Justin Rott looks like as well. He ends up... Well, actually, it was Bomar that got the race off a pit road. Already gone before we got the camera over there.
And the first Eliminator chase driver out on 2, Jonathan Jurgensmeyer. All of that decision-making to figure out where he was going to be if he took 4. Looks like he just scrapped it all entirely, went for the 2. And Jurgensmeyer will have a shot back at the race lead when we get the green flag with under 30 laps to go from Joliet, Illinois. What a race it's been through our longest green flag runs of the night. We've had stellar racing, all of it multi-groove, all of it high tire wear. And now the gloves come off, Nate. This is really where Jurgensmeyer is going to stretch his legs and try to use that muscle to get around James Bomar. Once more, it's not necessary for Jurgensmeyer to get the win, but it will help him. Again, double points for your best races. If Jurgensmeyer can get his second career SAAC Cup Series victory here tonight, what a story it would be if he'll be able to have a shot at the championship where triple points are awarded at Southern California, a track in which Juergensmeyer also knows a bit of success there. Captured his first 4-wide victory there not too long ago.
And, you know, again, as far as advancing, he should be pretty good on that front. You know, Cody Rivera's his closest competitor out of the race. Then Michael Walls and Andretti Robinson, both about 60 back of him coming into this race. So it's focus forward for Jonathan Juergensmeyer. He is racing for a championship. He's 55 points back of Connor Trafari coming into this race. There's a lot of space between him and some of these other top title contenders. He wants this win. It would be double points for that. And he wants to go to a track that he has confidence in. You mentioned the 4-wide win that he had there. He was second Monday night in the KBRN Truck Series. It's definitely a track that he knows he can succeed at. I'm sure he's, despite being pretty far back, he's got his eyes on that championship.
And he's got his eyes locked on whatever the 15 car does for this next green flag restart. Single file will go back to the green with 105 laps complete from Chicagoland Speedway. It's Bomar, Juergensmeyer, Rott, Thurston, Cazzola, the rest of the current top 5. Pace car skids to the entry of pit road. All eyes on the Little Caesars Smiling Friends Toyota looking for the green. He'll stack up the field. Green flag.
I think Bomar went a little late in the box. Everyone else has stayed pretty close in touch with him as they rifle off toward turn number 1, fanning out. Bomar's able to keep the spot on Juergensmeyer. Looks like Juerg gets a decent spinning is James Thurston with Gabe Cazzola.
Cazzola slides. They'll chally back up to turn 3. Do they cause the yellow? I don't believe they will until now. Cazzola stopped on the speedway. Yellow flag awaits. Will stay green.
Surprised to not see the caution there. It took Cazzola a lot of time to get that thing back going in a straight line, but out front it's James Bomar with Jonathan Juergensmeyer, Justin Rott fighting behind him.
And Juergensmeyer make a move in the Chicago sunset. 27 to go.
He's kind of all over him. He has been really fast on these short runs. He wants to get the lead before the long run pace starts to go away. And he's really trying to rip that top, get the momentum down the straightaways here. But he's struggling to really close in to try to make a pass on the 15 car.
It's a war for clean air at the front end as Bomar has enjoyed his best run of the year. He'll try to look for his first win of the year. He'll slap the wall. Juergensmeyer is there. Peek to the inside to turn 1. He's within a car length.
Good job by Bomar to take away Juergensmeyer's line into turn 1. But it was a huge run that Juerg had down the front stretch after Bomar smacked the wall just a little bit.
And right behind Trafari, fights with Justin Rott for 3rd. Best lap that time by to Juerg. And Bomar continues to lead. Trafari falls back. Moreno back into 5th. And what happens now as the line was taken away in turn 1? Juergensmeyer right to the white line. That's where Bomar will follow. And the Little Caesars car remains up front. Battle for the lead remains within 2/10 as the top 6 remain under a second. Ollie Reeves in the mix as well.
He's trying to make a late charge right here. Ethan Fonseca Moreno makes a move to the inside of Connor Trafari. That's got championship implications. Trafari catches the wall just a little bit. They're side by side. Ollie Reeves might think about 3 wide as they head to turn 1.
This is the look for the points lead as Moreno goes to the inside and Trafari plays all that defense. Again, we mentioned how tough it is to make a move on the bottom. It's been compounded as the run has progressed and as the night has come down in Joliet, Illinois. They'll remain gridlocked in the battle for 4th to turn 3. And look at Ollie Reeves surging up at the boards with Andretti Robinson right behind. Still door to door, fighting for the points lead off of turn 4.
Ollie Reeves once again trying to figure out what kind of role he wants to play in this traffic. This time he pushes Connor Trafari into turn 1. Ethan Fonseca Moreno now has got to work on defending Ollie Reeves before he tries to get back to the 9 car.
There's that open space. Moreno will have to fall back. He'll point his nose remaining on the inside. He'll stay where he's at. And Andretti Robinson playing the patient eye right behind. Again, all those points gaining on what could be a cut line surge as Cody Rivera is knocked out of this race. And the gap grows for the race lead. Juergensmeyer now back by 4/10. And is there anything you could do differently here, Nate, if you're Jurgensmeyer with all that clean air going in Bomar? He's had the fastest cars. The sun has come down with 21 laps to go.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much you can do, especially because you're on the same exact tire strategy as him. It's really just trying to dig deep and find some extra lap time. But also importantly, if you're Jurg, you don't want to dig too deep, because then you might hit the bottom and you might end up wrecking yourself. We've seen a lot of guys have that issue, especially out of turn 4. He's got a teammate behind him, so he's not going to be feeling too much immediate pressure, especially because Rot's not a driver fighting in the Eliminator chase. And he's got a lot of space back, you know, after Rot as well. So really no worse than third here for Jonathan Jurgensmeyer if he's able to keep it clean. If a caution comes out, then it's back to the attack.
Yeah, those drivers are part of that GOAT Incorporated team. Very successful in their tenure here in the SAAC Cup Series. Of course, that championship last season with Steven Maggio. And then all of the returning drivers in Jurgensmeyer, Justin Rott, plenty of other guys. Michael Walls has been a part of that group as well. Some of them a part of that KBueno Racing Network Truck Series that we've had a chance to cover over the last few months. And Jurgensmeyer understands his assignment now, but it's really going to be a matter of how hard can he push if he wants his first race victory of 2025. And sideways goes Gabriel Dahari in the middle of the field. Down the front straightaway, a hard hit for Wyatt Roberts right behind him. And with 19 to go, another Eliminator chase driver gets spun off turn 4.
And what a shakeup over the last 2 or 3 laps at the top half of the points grid. You saw Dahari spin there, but Connor Trafari had dropped to about P13. Ethan Fonseca Moreno was up to 4th at the time of that caution. A huge shakeup right here.
Sort of a dual incident. This had happened way before Trafari had fallen through the cracks. We'll get the second look from Dahari as he spilled off turn 4, and I think it's written the same as it's been with most of the cautions tonight. Just trying to make use of the inside lane, getting a nose underneath, and just getting a bit too much sauce on the chip.
And wow, look at everyone just trying to get through.
Oh my.
And that's another risk that you run trying to avoid these crashes by gassing it up and changing your steering angle. Is Wyatt Roberts just KOs the wall. Here's the onboard.
And there's not much you can do if you're Dahari here. I mean, you're running the bottom, you've got the throttle all the way in, and it could have been close enough to where Dahari might have cleared. You'll take a look at it right about here. It's because Moreno backs up the exit of 4. He knows he's going to hit the wall, so he slows down a bit. Dahari is there, doesn't see the slowdown, makes the contact, and around he goes at the exit of turn 4. I got to give props, though, Nate, to the rest of the field tonight. Given everything that they've been through with all of these spins off of the final corner, a lot of them have done a phenomenal job of staying out of the way. I mean, it's a hard thing to have wreck avoidance at your full-time capacity. And, you know, it could be tough to be on the brakes and predict where the cars are sliding right in front of you. But for everybody, and even for the spinning cars, they've been predictable on the brakes. And everyone has gotten away from it. And it has eliminated potential big-time crashes that we could have had tonight that have been avoided just because of all of that IQ in the middle of the field.
Yeah, a lot of wrecks that could have happened and didn't. As we see now there on pit road, looks like Gabe Cazzola came back down to service the car, as did James Thurston. But out front, a lot of guys staying out.
And there's Connor Trafari. He's in as well. Pretty long pit stop for Trafari, now past 25 seconds. And this is a guy trying to repair his car right now. After long runs, they really haven't treated him well. Trafari has determined to be good on the short runs inside the first 5 to 10 laps, and there's trouble on the caution. That's Michael Walls on the inside grass. What has happened here? And is that suspension damage too?
It looks like it. It could just be bouncing because of the grass, but I do think that steering is off. Not sure what happened to Michael Walls here, but as far as Connor Trafari is concerned, he had dropped down to P13 while we were watching that battle up front with Jurg. Let's see what happens with Walls.
Oh, no.
Oh, my goodness.
And that's Amir Bascombe losing connectivity. And that was right in front of Walls, who had no idea that was going to happen. And Michael Walls, who running off of 3 consecutive top 10s, was looking forward to a possible advancement tonight. And it looks like his night's going to be done from just this incident under the yellow flag. I think it might have been either a screen freeze, a hardware disconnection. Yeah, the wheel just hooks to the left. The car hops on the brakes. And there's absolutely nowhere that Michael Walls could go to avoid it.
I mean, that's horrible luck for Michael Walls, and dare I say deja vu to see the 24 car running into the back of a car suddenly slowing down much more than expected.
Wow, that is unbelievable. An unexpected twist to this race inside 16 laps to go. And another Eliminator chase driver that will most likely have their fate sealed by the time this race is almost about complete. Cody Rivera's, of course, that huge crash that sent him out of the race. He will be eliminated most likely. AJ Hyder could face elimination based on how the points go. Michael Walls is out as well. So he will be docked all the way at the back as James Bomar waits all the way in the restart box. Green flag with 15 to go.
Everyone jammed up into him, and now it's a mad scramble in Jonathan Juergensmeyer's rearview mirror as Larry Miles gets down to the inside of Justin Rott. Looks like Alexander Schumacher's made his way up towards the top 5 battle as well. Some new faces up here towards the front of the track.
The shoe sanity run can continue tonight. Schumacher inside the top groove, and he's looking for 5th. Larry Miles on the inside for 4th place as the gap remains at a 10th. Between the top 2 leaders, it's still fighting for 4th place behind to turn 1.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, Jonathan Juergensmeyer, if a caution came out and the gap behind him closed, he'd be more focused on the gap in front of him closing. He's got a chance to try to run down James Bomar, but it's very clear to me that James Bomar is faster once you get about 5 laps into one of these runs here. So Jonathan Juergensmeyer's got to make quick work to get by this 15.
And we've seen the differentiating lines between the 2 leaders. That's where Juergensmeyer bobbles. And there's where that time is made up from the 15 car of Bomar. All of the lines he's picking on clean air, the rotation is there, the car responds nicely. This is where Juergensmeyer is attempting his retaliation. He's running the boards in 1 and 2 because he knows there's clean air up the racetrack, but he just does not have the speed right now on our Charlie Bar Photography onboard camera, and he's got fire from behind his teammate Justin Rott. As Schumacher switches to the bottom, he gets the best of Robinson. Miles falls back to 6. And even in this spill, Gabriel Zahari stays in 7th. That's how much attrition we've seen tonight, as they're 3 wide behind him.
3 wide all across this back of the field. Gabe Cazola, he came down pit road. He's got some fresher tires, so he's going to try to slice his way through this field. But out front, James Bomar, and I want to mention these last couple of restarts for Bomar. He's done a very, very good job of using the single file restarts to his advantage. He goes at the back end of the box. Usually, that's not a good thing because that means that you're going to get jumped by the guy to your inside. There's no one to his inside. So now he can wait to go. Juergensmeyer and the rest of the people behind him have decided that they were going to try to jump each of these restarts. So he just waits till the end of the box to actually go. They can't step out till they get to the line anyway. And if he sees them start to lay back to get a run at the end of the box, he can just punch it while they're laying back. He's done a really good job of reacting to what the drivers behind him are showing him on these restarts, and I think that's been a big contributor to him being out front here in this race.
And there's a lot of pressure when you're that leading car on the restart, because if you mess up, if you spin the rear tires, then there's everyone else. They're going to try to take your lunch money, really. In a matter of seconds, it could be a big-time problem. And it's been wonderful to see how Bomar has responded maturely, and he's responded with all that composure. Every single restart he's nailed, he's been able to stay ahead, and he's the 6/10 of a second away from Jonathan Juergensmeyer in this fight inside 10 laps to go. And for Juergensmeyer, the time is starting to slip away. He's got a chance to stay in the championship fight, but he's got to balance out what it's worth. If a non-eliminator chase driver can go out and win this race tonight, how big of an implication will that play? How big of a spoiler will that play? As Bomar continues to run the bottom, and the recovery for Andretti Robinson continues, Nate. I mean, how do you stay relentless when the night has treated you poorly in the case that it did early on for Robinson, and the elation that could await this 45 car should he be able to point as one of the last cars in?
It would be a massive moment for Andretti Robinson, and he's got the opportunity with some of the misfortune that's found drivers like Steven Maggio and AJ Hyder in this race, but it is going to be a mountainous task to come and get by those guys. Of course, the double points, the quarter points will all kind of help, and I don't have the mental capacity to do that math right now,
neither.
But we're going to find out shortly after this race exactly who's in. And Andretti Robinson knows that those point multipliers are going to work to his advantage because of the struggles that some of these guys have had tonight. He's all over it. He's going to try to get every spot he can.
There's the battle for 10th. Connor Trafari on the outside of Shockey Tarpley. And we saw the 9 car come down pit road not that long ago. And with all that damage repaired, you think, why not take a fresh batch of 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles and just try to rip to the end of this race. The same goes for Moreno, who had docked down in 19th place during one of the last yellow flag sequences. He's up to 13th. And his fight for the points lead seemingly slipping away from his fingertips as Gabriel Dahari remains a couple cars up the road. There's a driver in the wall. That's Alexander Schumacher. He'll drop position to turn 1.
And it looks like he's going to try to keep the pace up. Seems like he's going fast enough to avoid a caution. But look at this. Andretti Robinson is making a push on the Godink teammates. He wants to try to get second. First place might be out of the question for the 45, but P2 still very, very doable. He needs all those spots he can get. He wants that double points to go to as high of a number as he possibly can get it to. Right now, his double points is just 68 so far in the Eliminator chase. But if he's able to come home as high as second, that'd be 80 points. Doubled, that's 160. It'd be a huge change for Andretti Robinson.
You've definitely got more math skills than I do. I was just going to make the excuse we're broadcast majors. We have nothing to do with math until these moments come around. But you've got to figure out all the stats. And it could be a monumental comeback on a double points night for Robinson. And we've talked about the format of this Eliminator chase, how impactful it is between swings of momentum from good and bad races and everything in between. If you can maximize your good performances, you're going to be golden. If you are able to minimize some of those really bad days, even by just a little bit, it could make a big time difference. And over the course of this Eliminator chase, we've seen everything in play, from horrid races turn to magical runs, to drivers just staying alive by being consistent enough. And then performances like this, when it looks like the race is in the gutter in the first half, you just rally back and tell the racing gods to look another day. We'll come to 3 laps to go. Robinson hoping that this move here could put himself into the top 6 in the running for the championship, while Jurgensmeyer watches on as a second up the road is James Bomar in search of his first career SAAC Cup Series victory in his 16th start.
Yeah, with as big of a lead as he has, it's easy to say that he's got it all wrapped up as a bow on it, but we've seen so many times anybody have a little bit of trouble on the exit of turn number 4, so that could always bring out a caution. But more importantly, we saw early in this race, Bomar himself had trouble coming out of turn number 4. He can just kind of pedal it. He's got a lot of lead to use up here if he wants to be nice and careful going through 3 and 4, but he's got it in the wind right now.
He's not the fastest car in the top 5, but that doesn't matter. He's the faster car out of the front running 2. White flag from Chicagoland Speedway. And for James Bomar, it has been a long 2025. He's seen real bad luck. He's seen 2 poles from Michigan and Talladega, which was the site of his best finish up until now. 9th then, and into 3 and 4 for the final time. It's going to be a golden moment for James Bomar. Finally, off of turn 4, a new race victor, and it's the 15 car of James Bomar, winner from Chicagoland.
What a job from Bomar. He's trying to start the burnouts early in the middle of turns 1 and 2. And he nailed those restarts, Kenneth. He really did. Just using all the space that he could, playing off Jurgensmeyer in his rearview mirror, doing the exact opposite of what the 00 expected him to do. Really just a fine job of defense from James Bomar.
And Andretti Robinson makes the pass complete on Justin Rott, so that's 1 extra spot and some crucial points that Robinson can get, as we'll await confirmation on who advances to be the top 6. But once again, it's a spoiler in the middle of this Eliminator chase, and his name is James Bomar. In his 16th attempt at a SAAC Cup Series race, it's his first ever win.
The smiling friend on the race car and in the race car, I would say, for James Bomar.
What a drive from Bomar. And after stepping up as one of the fastest cars over the last stretch, he made use of the green flag restarts when it mattered. He played the strategy correctly, and for the first time, he is a SAAC Cup Series winner, and it happens here at Joliet, Illinois, as we get our third different winner at Chicagoland in series history. Ollie Reeves did it the first time in Season 0. Jordan Kuntz did it in Season 2. Now James Bomar finds himself in the winning column for the first time this year. The 15 car wins, and a lot of Eliminator chase storylines right behind him. Jonathan Jurgensmeyer finishes second, his second consecutive podium finish after ending up third at Bristol Motor Speedway last week. He was 14 points ahead of the cut line. He should be clear of that into advancement to the finale next week. Andretti Robinson, give him all the credit in the world for the comeback he persisted with. The 45 ends up in third with a chance to point his way into this championship 6. We'll see though if of course that is the case at the end of this event. Justin Rod recovers to fourth after a pretty solid night for the 76 machine, and Steven Maggio made contact with the spinning cars off of turn 4.
Time is ticking.
It looked like his race might have been done and dusted. He ends up 5th. So he will indeed run for a second consecutive SAAC Cup Series championship as we see it. Larry Miles recovers to P6, Connor Trafari in 7th. And as he stays ahead of Ethan Fonseca Moreno and Gabriel Zahari, that should keep Trafari in control of the points lead heading into Auto Club Speedway. The 3-time winner trying to lock it up with a championship in 2025. There's Devin Frank inside the top 9, and that's your top 10.
Finishing up your top 20, Alexander Schumacher finishes in 11th. He had a nice run there, showed up late. Brad Sawinski had hit more than his fair share of trouble today, ended up in 12th. Maybe Mazzola played a little bit of strategy at a couple points. He comes home 13th. Then it's Fidel Fabian in 14th. Shockey Tarpley 15th. Season 0 winner at Chicagoland, Ollie Reeves, ends up in 16th. James Thurston, he led himself a few laps today. He ended up in 17th. Declan George in 18th. And AJ Hyder, after all the problems he had, ended up in 19th. Amir Bascom finishes 20th, 14 laps down.
AJ Hyder gave it all that he could with a damaged race car and still ends up with top 20 honors. We'll see if he's bumped out or whether he stays in contention for the title next week. Michael Walls, 17 laps down in 21st after what was a really tough race for Walls tonight. It looks like his chance for a title may be indeed over. He most likely will be eliminated as we await further confirmation from the official point standings. Wyatt Roberts is 22nd, Nicholas Borowski 23rd, Christopher Robinson 24th, and the sour end to the night for Cody Rivera finished second last week at Bristol. The spirits high, and then midway through the race ends up in a crash off of turn 4. His night is over. His championship shot is over as well. Chris Lilly 26th, Ryan Jones in 27th, Connor Zola ends up 28th with Dunham and David, and Chris Downey, your top 30. Chris Downey attempting his first SAAC Cup Series start. He was not allowed to the green flag when it came out tonight. Well, let's visit Victory Lane, and for the first time, it is James Bomar in control, and now with the crown. James, how emotional is a victory like this, given the absolutely outstanding performance in that final half, and just how good it feels to be a winner finally?
I don't think it's emotional. It's just I'm finally won. It's just I feel like I could have won a few of them or ran well, but I just kept getting wrecked all season. So I think this is the second time I finished top 10. If that shows you how bad it's been.
And it took a valiant effort here at Chicagoland, a track that for many isn't really easy to drive. You were in the top 6 for a majority of this event. You had slowly weaved your way through the pack one by one. What seemed to be that right magic feeling for you, especially as you got in clean air, and how you handled this car through the phases of change between running in traffic to running up front?
I think the magical moment was when I found out that I can run the middle and just carry speed. After I found that out about like lap 70, 80 behind Thurston, and after that it was just a matter of getting to the lead and then taking off with that knowledge, because with that I could block off momentum and I could carry my own.
So it's your first win here, 16th SAAC Cup Series start. And, you know, you've talked about it multiple times. You've expressed your frustrations about how wild this 2025 season has been. And for you, how much of bad luck you've experienced, from good runs at the front soiled by crashes to other situations where you felt like there were things missing and there could have been more luck on your side. How relieving is it to finally get that monkey off your back, have a race that does go well, have a race that does go flawlessly, and for you putting in all that effort to run a magical race in those final few laps to go ahead with the win?
Oh, it's great. It's great knowing that I can do it. I've felt like I could do it all season, but it's just a matter of having the luck on my side. But now that I know I can do it, it's just a matter of me keeping on with it and doing it more.
Well, it is a big-time win here from Chicagoland Speedway. I know this is probably going to be a pretty long celebration for you over the course of the night, and it was in unbelievable fashion here at the end of it. James, congratulations on the victory, but before we let you bounce, anybody that you want to thank or shout out for the night?
Shout out PBR, shout out ECE, shout out EPI, and shout out Smiling Friends for having the little Charlies on the car.
You know what? I didn't really notice it at first until Nate had brought it up like midway through the race that there was a Smiling Friends character as the Little Caesars guy on the hood. So I apologize for not noticing it sooner, but it's great that you took it to victory lane tonight on a great looking car and a great looking race car overall. James, congratulations on the win on behalf of all of us at the KBueno Racing Network. Go enjoy the celebrations. We'll see you in the rest of the field at the finale next week.
Thank you.
James Bomar, successful in his attempts and wins tonight's race from Chicagoland Speedway for the very first time. Let's talk to now the second place finisher this evening. That's the 0-0 of Jonathan Juergensmeyer and Nate's. He needed a good point stay. A point stay good is what he got tonight.
First of all, congratulations on the P2 finish and on moving your way into the next round of the Eliminator chase. It seemed that your long run pace lacked just a little bit compared to the likes of James Bomar and James Thurston. What more did you need on those long runs?
I just needed to keep my clean air. I mean, it's just so hard to. What am I trying to say? It's so hard to make a charge at those guys a couple laps after a restart. I mean, even when I was leading, I was slower than Thurston and Bomar, but when I was ahead of them, they couldn't really make a charge at me. It's just a couple laps after a restart. That was really your only chance at going for the lead, and I lost a spot on pit road. I don't remember exact. I think Bomar took 2 on a restart and got the lead, and then Thurston got ahead of me. But either way, I lost track position, and there was one run I was really battling Bomar for second and kind of killed my right front, but kind of got bailed by a caution. But yeah, just recovered well, and took 2 on that last restart. Me and Bomar took 2, and Thurston took 4, and that's what got me there at the end. And yeah.
So you came into this race plus 14 on the cut line. What was the game plan knowing that? Were you more focused on the cut line, or were you more focused on trying to catch the championship lead?
I was really nervous going into this race just because it's double points, and Cody was 18 behind me, and I was really nervous going into it because I really wanted to be in the final 6. I want to have a chance at it at the end, and yeah, I kind of just tried to make myself focus on the race. And at the beginning there, I got the lead on lap 1, and took control of the race. And a lot of guys were having trouble, like Ethan and Trafari. They were all having trouble, and Cody got right behind me. And yeah, it sort of made me nervous. I was definitely thinking about points for sure. And yeah, I don't know exactly. I think he hit the bump and got loose and ended up dying that way. But yeah, I don't know how close I'll be going into the final race in points, but I'm just really excited for a shot.
Well, we have that answer on the points coming into the final race just now from league owner Cody Riveras. You're coming into Auto Club 3rd, just -7 of Steven Maggio. And being that you won an Auto Club in 4 wide, you finished 2nd Monday night in the KBRN Truck Series. How do you like your title chances?
I'm kind of shocked that I'm 7 back. That's kind of crazy. I was like 80 back of the leaders going into this race. So I'm just happy to be here. I think I've definitely had the worst season out of these 6, but I mean, why not? Why not go for it? Just happy to have a chance and gonna go into it and see what happens, and yeah, hope it goes well.
And then before we let you go, Jerry, is there anyone that you wanted to shout out and thank for this performance tonight?
Shout out to all the guys, Micah, Gabe, Fidel, Justin. Shout out to Justin. I wrecked him one day for a win, and he still worked with me to help me get second at the end. So, shout out to him. Shout out to Austin, Austin Duran Graphics for making this Permatex car. Shout out to Cody. Shout out to you guys up here, and yeah, just excited for a chance at Auto Club.
Jerry, congratulations on the great finish and the opportunity that awaits you a week from now.
Yep, thank you.
Your second place finisher and third place points runner, Jonathan Juergensmeyer from Chicagoland Speedway.
And like you said, Nate, we do have official word as to who is in and who is out. So the Eliminator chase, we'll talk about this briefly before we get to our next interview. So there's the cut line, just a few points, and it's AJ Hyder. Stayed in the game for a top 20, and he stays in the championship fight. Cody Riveras, Andretti Robinson, and Michael Walls will be eliminated from contention. Got to give credit, though, to Andretti Robinson for the whale of a show he put up in those final few laps, and we'll talk to him now after a third-place finish from Chicagoland. Andretti, I know that it's not officially enough to get you past to the Championship 6 heading into Auto Club, but how about that comeback from big-time damage early on tonight to getting this car back up and ready to go to fighting for third? How was that trip back to the front, and how, I guess, wild was it to get up there in those final few laps?
Dude, it was honestly super rough. I had to basically win this race to advance to the next round. I started off good, and then I spun into the grass while battling Jonathan, but it was just a huge dogfight. I got in the back because of myself, and then I got in that big wreck, and then I just had to claw back from there. These yellows definitely helped me out, but this third place is huge for me, and I will take this into next week at Auto Club.
Lots of momentum, even given the fact that you were eliminated, but I mean, given the amount that you had to rally back from, you said it needed to take a race victory tonight. What differently was there mindset-wise heading into this race that maybe could have been different from a race maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago and staying alive for the points? Because we've seen how close things have gotten, and especially as these final few rounds have come in, it's been a lot more stressful to stand out amongst the rest of the group. So what have you tried differently tonight from Chicagoland to try to be that guy to be right above that cut line at the end of the night?
I think the thing I did differently was I just had to be more aggressive. I feel like lately I've been cutting people way too many breaks. They'd shut the door in my face, they pull sliders on me, and I just let them in so I don't get taken out. But I just need to start being more aggressive towards people, because obviously you have people like James Thurston winning races, Connor Trafari, championship contender, and they make aggressive moves. I feel like I have the speed to be up there with them, but I don't have the mentality and the aggressiveness to be up there with those guys.
Well, it's a third-place finish tonight. Obviously not running for the title next week, but there's one still race to go. There's still a chance to go out for a dub in 2025. So now what is it like going into that final race, and how do you prepare for the finale at Auto Club next Thursday?
I am actually super pumped for Auto Club. That is my best track on the entire schedule. And last season, I was leading on the white flag, and then I got wrecked coming out of 4. So I have nothing to lose next week now that I'm not fighting for the championship, so I can just go for the win. I'm not out here to make friends.
Going all out for it. That's a pretty good mindset to have into one final race to go at Auto Club next Thursday. Andretti, a good race tonight and a valiant effort to try and make it past to the next round. Before we let you go, anybody that you want to thank or shout out for the night's running?
I do want to shout out Cody Riveras. Like, he goes through a lot of stress hosting this league, and I think he does try to make things super fair, and I really am glad that he hosts this every week. And a shout out to you guys for also putting on an awesome broadcast. It's awesome to watch after these races.
Oh, we really appreciate the kind words, Andretti. And on our words to you, a valiant race, an amazing shot tonight from Chicagoland. It was great to see you up there. Thank you so much for the time. We'll see you at Auto Club with the rest of the field next week for the finale.
All right. Thank you, guys. See you next week.
Andretti Robinson, although the spirits are very high. Obviously, the situation is elimination at the end of it all. We'll take one more look at what that elimination tally looks like. All those drivers in the red at the bottom were former drivers eliminated from contention from the top 6 team, but it's that red cut line that we're watching right now. AJ Hyder barely points in after a pretty rough night from Chicagoland. Riveris, Robinson, and Walls are the 3 men out. They were the 3 men out going in. They will stay the same drivers out of it. But look at the changes in the top 6. Again, all of those double points. Steven Maggio somehow takes away the points lead after all that. Trafari drops back to second. Dahari and Moreno drop even further down the pylon. And this will be huge going into a triple points format at Auto Club Speedway. Just one more race to go next week.
Yeah, the triple points at Auto Club, I mentioned all race. If you're out in front, that means all you have to do is just finish in front of everyone else at Auto Club. You have the easiest instructions. You're not trying to do math in the car. And Connor Trafari and Steven Maggio are both kind of in that same boat. Really, so are Juergensmeyer and Dahari, with it being triple points. You know, a win gets you 90. That's going to be it. Ethan Fonseca, Moreno, AJ Hyder, both going to need a little bit more help than that. But I want to look more specifically at the races that get double points. Steven Maggio got double points on an 86-point performance and a 90-point performance. That was the first 2 races of the Eliminator chase. Jonathan Juergensmeyer got 95 points today at Chicagoland and 86 points a week ago at Bristol. Those are his 2 double points. That's what's going to help these guys jump all the way up. But now there's no more variables. Everything is set in stone. You're now just adding triple points next week at Auto Club.
We've seen the volatility of double points for this entire stretch leading up to now. Triple points for Auto Club. Yeah, it's going to be wild to figure out who's the champion when the checkered flag raises. It's one more event in this Season 4 SAAC Cup Series, and it's live from Southern California and the virtual Auto Club Speedway. We wrap up the season with 18 races, and that comes your way next Thursday, October 23rd. We'll have the coverage at 8 p.m. Eastern for our pre-race right before we jump into the championship finale with the 6 drivers vying for the title, one looking for his 2nd consecutive in Steven Maggio, and he's got the points lead going into that one final race. We've appreciated your support throughout this entire SAAC Cup Series run. We started back in Michigan. How much time has passed, Nate? And one more to go. And Auto Club is definitely not a boring track in any sense of the imagination for these next-gen cars. It's going to be a doozy next Thursday.
Yeah, it's never boring. It's honestly very similar in having all types of lanes that you can get to and being worn out, kind of like Chicagoland Speedway. But I was there just Monday night for the KBRN Truck Series, and it was chaos for the entire thing, including a last lap crash involving teammates at the front of the field. It's only going to be more crazy with a championship on the line.
So again, October 23rd, 8 p.m. Eastern for championship race coverage at Auto Club Speedway. We'll be also back in time for action on Wednesday night for the 4Wide Racing TJ's Team Series. In a little while, we did not race this week, but we'll be back in action next Wednesday at the virtual Kentucky Speedway. First trip to Kentucky in a long while for 4-wide competition. Again, you won't want to miss that. That's October 22nd at 8:30 p.m. Eastern for coverage of the Thousand Islands Correct pre-race show, and then we'll be on with action at 9:10 p.m. Eastern before this championship finale at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. When the session is live, we'll be right live with you on the KBueno Racing Network. You won't want to miss any of the action. So that'll do it for us from the virtual Chicagoland Speedway after a phenomenal performance in the final few laps by James Bomar to get his first ever SAAC Cup Series victory, and the 6 are set for Auto Club in the championship finale 1 week from tonight. For Cody Riveris and the entire crew at the SAAC Cup Series for making this league go round, and for all of the wonderful people that make up the KBueno Racing Network, for Francisco Bacallao, Charlie Byer, Keelan Belsha, Eli Comerford, and for my colleague in the booth tonight, Nate Polite, I'm Kenneth Bueno, saying so long from Joliet, Illinois, a first-time winner in Bomar, and a chance for 6 drivers to go at it for a title next Thursday night.